UFC champion, Nate Diaz!
I'm back. I'm here to fight.
This is a crazy fight. Israel Adesanya, king of the middleweights.
Y'all must have forgot, we the best. Marvin Vettori.
It's my destiny to be the first Italian UFC champion.
The rematch you have all been waiting for.
Figueiredo, he's a very dangerous man. But Brandon Moreno, he's here to get the belt.
We got a fight, ladies and gentlemen.
.263 weighing day. I'm Adam Catterall. It's a pleasure as always to be in your company, in the company of these two gentlemen. As you can see, I've changed locations. I'm at the BT Sports Studios today. Nick Peet still in his garden shed in Liverpool, and poolside in California in the early hours of the morning. The Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Michael Bisping, has come to join the show. Boys, it's a pleasure to be with you. Looking forward to getting through these fights. We've got two fantastic title fights, and of course, for the first time ever in the UFC, we've got a non-title fight, non-main event, 5-rounder. There you go. I got it right eventually because it has been rescheduled since UFC 262. But we've got a cracker. There you go. It's all up on the board there. That's your main card. And it also includes Damian Maia taking on Bilal Muhammad. And then that fantastic fight for Paul Craig in the light heavyweight division, which kicks off the main card at 3 o'clock in the morning on BT Sport, taking on Jamahal Hill. Don't forget the prelims get underway from 1 a.m. Without any further ado, boys, let's get stuck straight into this, shall we? Let's talk main event. And I'm going to be honest, Mike, right? When we did our previous show, out of the three fights that we were all getting excited about, I've got to say the middleweight title fight wasn't the one that I was hanging my hat on. I was all about Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards, and then second would have been the flyweights. But this week, these two lads have gone back and forth. They've gone at each other. They've really gone for each other in the press conference. They've hyped it for me, man. I'm absolutely well and truly in on this rematch.
See, and that's the power of trash talk. You know, that's what I always say. You're trying to get into your opponent's head, but it does sell the fight. And of course, when it's personal, when there's a little bit of sting on it, you know, it does get the public interested. And of course, as you mentioned, ever since last Saturday, I think it was, I did an interview with them last week. And interview is a strong word because I couldn't get a word in edgeways, which is fantastic. That's exactly what you want. But it was a little bit annoying because they were just going back and forth, yab, 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 and I'm standing like an idiot in the middle with a microphone thinking, what am I doing here? I'm a former fighter. This is not my forte. I'm like, guys, please let me get a word in edgeway so I can get the wheels back on this bus. But to your point, Adam, hyping the fight massively, and I cannot wait for it.
What are you talking about, Mike? He was poking the bear last week, wasn't he, Nick? We saw him in the middle of it. Every now and again, he dropped something in and just stand back and let the argument kick off. And look at these two gentlemen, they don't need any encouragement to have an argument, do they, Nick?
No, listen, it was the perfect platform and the perfect way to do it, you know, because it just kind of peaked last week's event, full of heavyweights and everything else, but it was all about let's sell towards 263, 18,000 fans in Glendale. We know Vettori is kind of like the first guy forward, not necessarily everyone's first, you know, choice as contender, but he is on a 5-fight streak. He's unbeaten since he lost to Adesanya, and he is an absolute bull. And the good thing about Vettori, what he did, and he did it in the interview with Mike, and he's done it all week, he's played up to the fact that he's the heel. He's played up to the fact that Adesanya's beloved. He's a champion that everybody's high on, and Vettori's gone, you know what, you want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the bad guy. You've got to love it.
No, absolutely. We do love it indeed. And obviously that's our main event, the middleweight title fight on the line there. We've got a fantastic co-main event as well, Mike, where at the back end of last year, both Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno gave us one of the Fight of the Year contenders, and those two as well went at it when they were at the press conference yesterday. I didn't think they would. I thought they would have gained each other's respect after that first fight, but the champion went in with a little bit of a push and shove, which again gets the fans right on side for hopefully another showdown on Saturday night.
A little bit of argy-bargy, Adam. I mean, who would have thought it between two UFC fighters? But you're right, to your point, I thought they would have won each other's respect because, you know, when you share the octagon with another man and you go through that kind of war like they did, I mean, as you say, Fight of the Year contender, if not Fight of the Year, non-stop action for 25 minutes. They both give each other as good as they got. So, like, at the end of that, you have to respect what the other man brings to the table. But I guess that's all out the window because when you square up at the press conference, that's your last chance to try and get a little bit of intimidation in there. But as you said, you know, for the fans, it's brilliant. A little bit of spice in there, it's always good.
Nick, there's a lot of pressure on them because obviously off the back of the first fight, which was a Fight of the Year contender, fans are going to be expecting something special. Do you think they're going to pick up round 6 just like they've just finished round 5 in the previous fight, or will it be a little bit more of a cagey affair?
It definitely won't be cagey. I think whether they can start at the same pace as they finished the first fight, I don't know. I think you've got 2 guys who are completely refreshed now. We talk about the turnaround in the build-up show, the 21-day turnaround for Figueiredo, but it was also a 21-day call-up for Moreno as well. So I think you've got 2 guys now have gone away, done full fight camps, have got full game plans, probably game plan A, B, and C. And I think they'll approach it slightly differently, but they are flyweights. They do fight at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So, of course, it will catch fire pretty much from the first bell.
There's your 2 world title fights. The people's main event is this non-title fight, non-main event 5-rounder between our very own Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. I did feel for him yesterday at the press conference, Mike, I've got to be honest, because obviously Israel Adesanya, Marvin Vettori stole the show. I don't think Leon... I think he answered 2 questions, and I think, well, Nate Diaz just enjoyed himself smoking a little bit of the local substance, didn't he? They were there, and they're obviously going to be throwing down on Saturday night. It's a fascinating matchup for the fans.
Yeah, no, listen. The Coco main event, as you used to call it, Adam, I want to go back to that because I did like that, got a little chuckle. Listen, this is an incredible fight. It really is. It's making history, all the rest of it. Nate Diaz is back. Leon Edwards finally gets an opponent that he's worthy of and worthy of taking his career to the next level. And as you said, yeah, it is a shame when somebody, as deserving as Leon sits there at the press conference and doesn't really get asked questions. It can be frustrating for the fighter. But unfortunately, Adesanya is a massive star. Diaz always steals the show, for whatever reason, whether it's smoking the wacky backy or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? But he's that star. He's a mega star. He really is, and he just attracts attention. And, it's like always so fonder, and he doesn't fight very often, and people just clamour for Nate Diaz. Now, unfortunately, everybody knows my pick and our picks, I think, as well. I think we're all on the same page. Leon's going to have in my opinion, a very, very good performance. But Nate Diaz is very angry. He feels that he's being disrespected. He doesn't understand why people say he's undersized. I think he's going to learn why we say he's undersized once he steps into the octagon and once they clinch up. But still, Diaz is saying all the right things, and he's very confident of winning this fight. It's going to be a great one.
It should be a great one. And obviously that's the one that we're all looking forward to, the people's main event. And Nick, talking about the undersized thing, as you can see him squaring off now, it's quite evident that Leon there is the bigger guy. And that's in the process of obviously cutting down in weight. Once he refuels and resizes, I think there's going to be a big size difference from Saturday evening.
Yeah, but, Nate wants this fight. As everybody knows, Nate did his best work down at lightweight. He is up at welterweight these days. He is 36 years of age. I think on the other side, you've got Leon. I think Leon debuted at middleweight, but has basically been a career welterweight. And as you can see, there's not an ounce of fat on Leon. We'll see that shortly when he gets onto the scales. But timing's everything in this sport, and I just think getting Nate Diaz with all that star power at the right time. Don't forget, Leon was booed in London. It won't bother him one iota being booed walking to the cage in Glendale, Arizona. He'll thrive off it. Doesn't matter. If you get booed on the way in, as long as you get cheered on the way out. And I think if a big performance against Nate Diaz, especially a stoppage performance against Nate Diaz, if he can pull that off, you better believe Leon Edwards won't just be cheered from the octagon. He could be carried from the octagon.
It's a big one. UFC 263 going down on BT Sport. Those prelims getting underway from 1 a.m. and that main card going down at 3 a.m. There's lots of British interest as well, of which we'll talk about throughout the course of this show. But we're about 5 minutes away from seeing the guys and girls obviously weigh in over in Glendale, Arizona. So I just want to come to you, Mike, on that fight between Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. And I'm sure that the signposts in your own career where you thought to yourself, tonight's the night. Tonight's the night I've got to show up. Tonight's the night where I've got to send my name into superstardom. And I'm sure there's been plenty of those for you along the way to you reaching the pinnacle of becoming the champion and obviously now in the Hall of Fame. This is one for Leon Edwards. How do you deal with those moments pre-fight?
Yeah, well, that's what he's got to be careful, right? Because as you mentioned, this is, a breakout evening potentially on the cards for Leon Edwards. It's what he's been missing his whole career. He's always had the skills. He's always had the work ethic and the ability. Now, after tomorrow night, he's going to be a household name in mixed martial arts in the United States. In the UK, everybody knows him, probably around the world. But in the US, they've got bigger stars to focus on, and he's just kind of been overlooked a little bit. Now, with all that said, that adds to the pressure. Now, Leon's used to that. He's cold and calculated, but you can't think about it too much. Like I remember at the final of the Ultimate Fighter 3, I'm in Las Vegas, my first time there, and we're just about to start, and it's a live production. You got all the lighting rig and the cameras and the hoopla and I'm like, I'm here. I'm in the UFC octagon. There's Bruce Buffer introducing me, and I remember I turned around to my coach and I felt like I was going to faint, and I was like, whoa. And he said, no, Michael, man, just remember, every training session you ever had came down to this moment. I'm like, you're not helping me. You are not helping me at all. It's the last thing that I need to hear right now. So for Leon, that's got nothing to do with it. Listen, he's just going to not think about all that. He's just going to focus on the task at hand. Listen, Nate, he's the bigger guy, as we said. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the better wrestler. I think he can hang on the ground. But in mixed martial arts and against a guy like Diaz, who is dangerous, who is game, who will walk him down, you got to be careful. So he's got to, yes, it's a big opportunity, but he can't celebrate a victory before it's already happened. He's got a tough fight on his hands. Forget about all that stuff. Forget about the ramifications of the fight and just focus on what he needs to do.
The idea of fighting a superstar is one thing, isn't it, Nick? But then when you actually get in there, the realization of fighting a superstar is something totally different. When Nate Diaz does make that walk and he's in there, it's going to be a very pro Nate Diaz crowd. Let's be straight, it will be. It's going to be an intimidating place to be throwing down for Leon Edwards.
Yeah, and there's not much to work off either as well, because Nate's not been too active recently, so we don't know quite where he's at. He does have long breaks, 2 fights in the last 5 years, but at this stage in his career, does he need to be in and out of fight camp all the time? He's Nate Diaz, man. He can just rock up and throw down at any time, and maybe the long periods away are helping his body recover and allowing him to still compete. And let's not get away from the fact that Nate Diaz could have easily rode off and called for fights with Conor McGregor or Jorge Masvidal or many other names, if you like, in the sport, got a main event, earned more money. But instead, he's accepted a fight, a 5-round fight with the number 3 ranked welterweight in the world, the guy that pretty much unanimously everybody agrees should get the next shot at the welterweight title belt. Nate Diaz has took that fight. Nate Diaz must see something, or he sees something in himself where he goes, you know what? I can still compete at the highest level. I want to do it. And anybody that's got that mentality has got to be dangerous. Anyone that's got his level of jiu-jitsu, when the going gets tough, he can keep going, has got to be dangerous. Leon just needs to be careful here. He can't rush it. He's got to take his time, but he's got to put on his show as well. It's a fine balance that it's a fine tightrope that he's got to walk. He's got to perform. He's got to look good, but he can't take any chances.
As you can see there, we're getting ready for the weigh-in in Arizona, Glendale, Arizona. This is your official show, your official UFC 263 weigh-in, courtesy of BT Sport. And we're going to hopefully, we're definitely going to be waiting throughout the whole duration of the weigh-in. It could last for a couple of hours. So get yourself a nice brew and a biscuit and what have you, and enjoy the conversation as we get stuck in running throughout the course of 263, and I've no doubt there'll be other narratives as well that play up as well, because we've seen Mr. Bisping back on the mats this week with the trilogy with Luke Rockhold, so we're going to speak about it at some point. Mike. It's going to come up. We'll get stuck into all that, and if you've got any questions, you're more than welcome to get stuck in as well. All our social media channels are well and truly open. You can see the ticker going across the bottom of the screen right now. So if you want to get in contact with us, it is all there. So ping away, and when we get a break in the action, we will flag them up and obviously refer to them throughout the course of the show. All right. Just a quick one before we get stuck in to the weigh-ins. I'm looking at the time, and I know that we're imminently there, gentlemen. Out of the 3 fights that we've just kind of previewed, which one do you think is more likely to walk away with a fight of the night bonus? Mike, I'll come to you on that one first.
Oh, I mean, that's a tricky one. All 3 of them, to be honest. Obviously that's not an answer, but look at Brandon Moreno, Figueiredo, as we said, fight of the year, so I don't expect anything different there. The heat on Izzy and Vettori. I mean, Marvin Vettori is just such an intense guy. And as we know, Israel takes his fighting career very seriously. He likes to knock people out. He likes to put on a show. I can't imagine that he's going to be running away from the fight and playing it overly tactical. So that's going to deliver. And again, Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards. I mean, I don't. But one person gets fight of the night. So who do I think? Ooh, I don't know. I don't know. Paul Craig, Jamal Hill. There you go. No. I'm going to say Leon Edwards, Nate Diaz. Nate is never in a boring fight. He's never in a boring. I mean, come on, think about that's why he's such a star when he fights as well. I mean, look at those 2 fights with Conor McGregor. Certainly that second one. I mean, what a great fight. And every time, win or lose, Nate Diaz brings it. He brings it to the table. He brings it to their face. He walks them down. He throws feints. He's chatting away while he's doing it. It's always fun. And Leon Edwards on the flip side, I don't think he'll be talking, but he'll be throwing. So, it's going to be a good one.
Nick, go on. Can you do it in 10 seconds? What are you thinking?
I'm going to go with Figgy Smalls versus the Assassin Baby. I'm going to go with Figueiredo Moreno.
Figgy Smalls is a new nickname. I like it.
Figgy Smalls and the Assassin Baby to steal a show. Once again, it will be flames, and hopefully we will get at least 3 or 4 rounds out of it as well.
Official weigh-in for UFC at 263.
Here we go then. Let's get stuck in.
First fighter to the scale, competing live on pay-per-view here tomorrow night in the UFC's welterweight division.
Oh, first on.
Not messing about. Oh, boy, is it? I heard welterweight. I prayed that it were him, and it just dipped out on me. So here we go. Leon Edwards, first on the scale. Might be a bit of a statement here. Obviously, he only needs to hit 171, but let's see where he's at.
£170.5 pounds, the official weight for Leon Edwards.
There you go.
Hold on. Did he say 170.5 pounds? I thought he said 171.5. Yeah.
Come on, John.
I mean, good for him. That's the way to do it. Get on there first. Go rehydrate. Take advantage of that size. You can lie in bed. You can be lazy, but you want to get out of bed. You want to make weight as soon as possible. Rehydrate. Take a nap. Feel human again. And then focus on kicking some backside tomorrow night. And as you mentioned before, I mean, side by side at the press conference, Leon looks bigger. But once he fills back in, because obviously all week you're pounding distilled water and you're eliminating carbohydrates. That's how you lose weight. He's going to be a good 10, maybe 15 pounds heavier tomorrow night.
Out of Tijuana, Mexico, Brandon Moreno.
The big boys aren't messing. Well, I said the big boys. These are little boys, but you get what I'm saying. The big fights aren't messing about here. Straight in. Brandon Moreno on the receiving end of a majority draw last time out. Fight of the year contender at the back end of last year with Deiveson Figueiredo. Looks happy.
He always looks happy.
The official weight.
He's got a beautiful energy about him. As I say, I see him at the Apex when he's doing the Spanish broadcast, and always got a smile, always got a story to tell, always wants to say hi. He's a very, very warm, nice guy. In fact, did you see that picture doing the rounds yesterday of the 2 baddest flyweights on the planet? And when the top half was Figueiredo, I think he used to be a hairdresser. So it's him in the salon with his scissors and his hair straighteners and whatnot. And then below it, you got Moreno with his Lego set, with the Zelda t-shirt on. It's like,
Italian Dream, Marvin
nerds.
Comic book nerd. Yeah, nerds. I love it. Nerds run the world.
They really do.
It's the Italian Dream, Marvin Vettori.
Speaking of nerds, he's anything but a nerd.
184.5 pounds, the official weight for Marvin Vettori.
Intense.
He's one angry dude, though, isn't he, man? He's so angry. He must burn up so much negative energy, Mike. How does he control it in a fight of this magnitude? Surely if he was a bit cooler and calmer, he'd be able to fight at a higher pace.
The UFC's lightweight division, Matt, the Steamroller Frivola.
I totally agree, Nick. Totally agree. You know, I mean, I've talked about it at length, so I won't bore everyone again, but you know, you figure it out towards the end or as you get older, more mature. Fighting on emotion is not the way to do it, you know. Hold on.
Matt Frivola here.
155, the official weight for Matt Frivola.
Going championship.
We're flying through these guys.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. Well, there's no heavyweights, is there? So we've got a quick show tonight. This will be done in 45 minutes. You wait and see. Yeah.
Well, let's hope so, because I've had a sore throat all week, and it's going to get worse. I've got my honey and lemon at the go. I've got a chamomile tea. I've got lozenges. So if you know, I'm trying my best.
This is going to be an interesting fight. Top of the prelims, boys. Drew Dober taking on Brad Riddell. Brad Riddell's obviously one of Izzy's teammates. Drew yesterday in the press conference, Nick, was saying that it's a beautiful, striking matchup, and he's not wrong, is he?
No, the two of them absolutely love to throw down. They throw heavy leather from start to finish. Someone's chin is going to go. Dober always in shape. Riddell is just like new to the UFC, but a monster. But the best story about Drew Dober is the guy goes to Germany in 2014 to fight Nick Hein and gets beat, but comes back with Nick Hein's sister. Now he's married to her. Oh, I love that story.
All right, next fighter to the scale, UFC women's bantamweight.
Gangster.
I forgot about that. Lost the battle, but won the war.
Davis.
Exactly.
Alexis Davis is about to hit the scales. Top of the early prelims, this one against Pani Kianzad. That's a hell of a tale. How do you find this stuff out, man? Do you know what I mean? There's journalists in this game, Nick, and then there's journalists, and you've just took that to the next level. Do you go through people's bins?
Adam deserves all the props for remembering that. But yeah, that's been doing the rounds for a while. I mean, God bless it, though. God bless it. I mean, that's the ultimate insult, isn't it? You go out there, you get beaten. It's all right. Fair dues. It's not over yet. I'm taking your sister home. Brilliant.
You wait until Terence McKinney walks out. I've got a story for you. You wait until he comes out for his debut.
Alexis Davis hitting the scales. If you're just tuning in, this is BT Sport, the UFC 263
next fighter to the scale.
Official
he
weight
is the
show.
15th ranked featherweight in the world at present. Mean Hakeem.
Again, this is another good one that's kind of gone under the radar. Obviously, we've got a lot of attention on the title fights and our people's main event, but Hakeem Dawodu against Movsar Evloev. Mike, we've Evloev's obviously undefeated coming through, but Hakeem's on a nice little streak right now. Big fight for these boys to gain some traction at featherweight.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, as you said, it has flown under the radar, but I'm not surprised because, I mean, the main card is just absolutely ridiculous. And even on the undercard, great fights like this one. The good news for them is, even though they've gone under the radar, there's going to be a lot of eyes and probably a lot of people in the stadium. Everyone's going to be watching the prelims. You always see that big stacked
she is the 11th ranked UFC
numbers on the prelims do really well. So they've got a big opportunity. They got tough fights against one another, though. But the winner, again, people are going to know who they are on Monday morning if they already don't.
That should be a good one between Evloev and Hakeem Dawodu.
Oh, yeah. Pani
Kianzad. There she is. This will complete our first fight because we've already had Alexis Davis a couple of seconds coming through the IMS.
135.5, the official weight for Pani Kianzad.
all good.
Yeah, I think. Well, I thought the main screen frozen for me there for a second.
Yeah, she
we
made
just got a little bit of problem there. We are Fee from Glendale. Yeah, they want to see us anyway, boys. You know what I mean? Hopefully, we can get the feedback from Glendale. There was a little bit of a freeze on our screen there. You might have to take your top off, Nick, just to give people a little bit of action. That's what they've turned up for. You know what I mean? They've come for the weigh-ins. No. You might have to get down, son.
Listen, it's journalist of the year with. Journalist of the year with the backstories, but we do not want to see Nick with his shirt off. Let's be honest. Come on. Hey, it's still early here, lads. Come on, give me a break.
For those that have just tuned in and seen a little bit of the weigh-ins, we're just trying to get our feedback on that. It is a little bit jittery at the moment. Leon Edwards was the first on the scale today. 170 and 1/2 pound. Coming through good. We're still waiting for Nate Diaz and Deiveson Figueiredo and Israel Adesanya as the champions in the main and co-main event. But we've seen Brandon Moreno and Marvin Vettori both weigh in and both hit championship weight. So half of those title fights are absolutely nailed on. Once we've got that feedback, we will obviously cross back over to Arizona. In fact, there we go. That's a little bit nice. It's Chase.
Young Chase.
Again, another fighter that's kind of gone under the radar. There was a lot of hype on him, Mike, early doors in his career, wasn't there? And he's now on the early prelims there. They seem to be taking the time a little bit more with Chase rather than rushing him through.
Yeah, well, that's what he needs. I mean, because he came to the UFC, obviously. I think he was the youngest fighter on the roster at the time.
Chase Hooper.
So obviously a very young man, but he's learning on the job. He's got a great jiu-jitsu skill set, good grappling. His last fight, I don't want to say exposed because that's too strong of a word, but he struggled with the striking.
Right,
but what really impressed me was his resilience, because in the end, I think he got the heel hook.
Main card here tomorrow night. He is
in a fight that he was destined to lose. He was going to lose that fight without a doubt, and he never gave up, got it to the ground, got the heel hook. Good for him. God bless him. So I'm sorry, I spoke over John. So who we got here? Oh, Jamal
Hill. Yeah. This kicks off our main card. 3:00 in the morning on BT Sport. Go on, Nick. This one's for you because I know that you're wanting to put the Braveheart war paint on, aren't you, mate? Go on, son. This is the guy taking on Paul Craig.
Well, that's it. I pledged my allegiance to Scotland this morning when it comes to the football. So obviously, I'm all Paul Craig and JoJo today as well.
205 pounds. The official weight for Jamal Sweet Dreams Hill.
But Jamal Hill's had an incredible run. The guy wasn't even in the UFC at the start of lockdown, and now he's ranked number 15, taking on Paul Craig for that swap over 14 and 15 spot. I had a Blossman basketball career at university, turned it down to pursue a career in mixed martial arts. So he's here for business. He's serious, and he can fight.
Yeah, man. It's going to be interesting to see how he plays that fight because he comes out like a bull in a china shop. And we've seen Paul Craig ride a bit of a storm in early doors in his fights, haven't we? And then take over as the fight progresses with his jiu-jitsu. Going to be interesting to see how Jamal Hill approaches it. Movsar Evloev is currently on the scales, taking on Akeem
last fight was at
150.
Yeah, his last fight was at 150 catch weight. So
5.5, the official weight for Movsar Evloev.
Come through.
He's a future, for me, Mike, that's a future title contender right there. Kid's quality.
All right, next fighter.
Absolutely. He's fought in a lot of big organizations, M1, etc. Strong wrestling background. I think he's undefeated, right, as well. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
14-0.
I tell you what, they're flying through these tonight or today.
Not messing. Lauren Murphy's about to hit the scales. We were impressed with her on Fight Island, weren't we, Nick? Not only with the performance that she put in inside the octagon, but the way that she rocked the microphone as well. And it is a big part of it. People might disagree with me, but I think what you say on the microphone is a big part of a career progression. And she now is finding herself in a fight with Joanne Calderwood tomorrow night. And you would think the winner of this is going to get a shot at Shevchenko.
Yeah, 100%. Her backstory is amazing, but she started in the sport as a featherweight, then moved down to bantamweight. Now she's at flyweight. Best career run. She's 5-1 in the flyweight division.
For Lauren Murphy.
It's a tough weight class because you've obviously got Valentina at the top, who is just so good, and then you've got everybody else. But I tell you what, out of everybody else, a lot of Murphy is at the front of the queue for me.
14th ranked in the UFC's light heavyweight division. He is Paul Bear Jr.
Here we go.
Get ready for the kill. Is he got on the old scales? He's not got the face paint on. Is he? My screen's just juttering there a bit, gentlemen.
Some English
didn't look like he had It didn't look like he had the face paint on. Oh, he doesn't look happy. Something's happened here. Why is it? Or maybe he's saving it for the ceremonials later on, Nicholas. Maybe that's what it is, because this is only the officials, I suppose, now. And in front of the crowd later on, he'll be able to put the full regalia on. You don't want to give too much away, do you, Nick?
No, I mean, it's hard to do your makeup at 9 o'clock in the morning. Mike will tell you that. It's tough first thing.
Hey, that's why I was a little bit late this morning. I had to get my mascara on, you know what I mean? No, these two, they've been a bit of bad blood inserted into this one as well. Jamal took offense at something that he said, and he was like, I don't play these games, you know, from where I'm from, we ain't messing around, yada, 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 and all this. It's like, well, you got to fight, mate. Do you know what I mean? So you're going to get to the bottom of it pretty quickly. But I like it. Always a bit of fun when a bit of bad blood.
Yeah, it has kicked off that this week. But I've been very impressed. You talked about calmness leading into fights, Mike, a bit ago. I've been impressed with
pounds, the official
Paul
weight
Craig,
for
the way that he deals with those types of questions. He kind of just said, listen, man, let him do what he wants. I'm dealing with me. Once that cage door shuts, then we'll go at it.
Well, that's it. You don't want to waste any energy, as we just said. And, you know, walking on the scale there, you were like, he's saving the theatrics. You only have so much mental energy, you know, throughout the day. You want to try and do whatever you can to not think about the fight. Even on fight day, in my room, I don't want to talk about the fight. I don't want to hear about the fight. I don't want to watch fights. Right at the, the last hour or so, you start getting dialed in. But during the day, I don't want to waste mental energy. But I'll shut up with my mental energy because here we have the man, the myth, the legend, Nate Diaz.
Just a little bit of a glitch again on my screen. I thought it was 170. I thought it was championship weight there for Nate Diaz. So there you go. If you are just joining us, Leon Edwards was first on the scales. Nate Diaz has just come through. Both guys have made weight, so that fight is ready to rock and roll. The Coco main event.
Oh, there it is, the Coco.
Yeah, that was the one I was scared was going to fall off as well. I was terrified, Nate. Leon wasn't going to get this opportunity. I am so glad they both weighed in. We're getting it, man. We're getting Leon Edwards, Nate Diaz. Whoa. Man, can't wait.
You just listen. Don't you stop crossing your fingers and your toes just yet, sunshine. All right, this is Leon Edwards' fight. When you get it, celebrate losing the next 24 hours. Sorry to pour water on it. Until that cage door shuts, I'm not going to believe that we're actually going to get it. All right, that's where I'm at with it. Fingers crossed, everything goes to plan over the next 24 hours. Luigi Venderamini just coming through there on the scale.
Division, Joanne.
Diaz stepping on the scale there at 170. I don't really think that says much. You know what I mean? It's not like he's making a statement. I think he's probably had to drink a gallon of water to weigh in at 170 this morning. Do you know what I mean? On the flip side, here she is. Here's JoJo.
Big fight, this. Big fight.
Every time we see her, she seems to have more ink.
125, the official weight for Joanne Calder.
Oh, championship weight.
There you go. And that just is a sign, I suppose, Mike, of how good this card is, because we've got a fight here between Lauren Murphy and Joanne Calder, which many would say is the title eliminator, and it's second on the prelims. That's how good this card is.
Yeah, no, I know, it's crazy from top to bottom. I mean, I'm just looking at it here. I mean, even the first fight of the night, Carlos Felipe versus Jake Collier, that's an exciting fight. If Carlos Felipe brings it, he's got heavy hands. And on weaker cards, here's another guy. I'll shut up again. Here's the dentist.
Come on, Darren.
Wait, listen, he's as happy as can be, mate. He doesn't have to make weight. He's moved up. He's had burgers this morning, this boy.
Yeah.
204.5.
He still cuts.
Well, not sure that's a smart move, though.
Well, he still cuts at 205. And when I was speaking to him, Mike, he said, I've literally been unhappy since 2017. 11 fights in the UFC. I've never been happy. All I ever do is cut weight. I want to be happy. I don't want to cut weight. But obviously, he's going in against a guy in Eric Anders that also jumps between light heavyweight and middleweight. So he'll have lapped up the opportunity to put an extra 20 pounds on too.
Yeah, and that's why I said a moment ago, I'm not sure if it's the smartest thing. Now, of course, it's miserable. Making weight is bloody miserable. And you've got to be careful because I was talking to someone the other day. One of my biggest regrets, well, many regrets throughout my career, let's be honest, I did a lot of things wrong, was that I used to cut too much weight and I used to starve myself in training camps. And it is miserable. To his point, I'm not surprised he was miserable. He's a big guy. He's a very, very thick, heavily muscled man. Making 170 is miserable. And if you don't do it right, it will affect you.
In the heavyweight division, Carlos.
Hold on. But it is, he's got to be careful because Eric Anders, I believe that plays to his benefits, to his strengths. And we saw in the first fight, he got off to a really fast start. So listen, I respect him. He's going to go in there strong. He's going to go in there happy and full. And I wish him all the best, of course. But yeah, curious decision if you ask me.
Carlos Felipe on the scales, heavyweight bout. This one kicks it all off at the start of the night, taking on Jake Collier.
262.5, the official weight for Carlos.
262.
Just under.
What a big guy. But listen, when that guy was 14 years of age, he weighed 350 pounds. He was morbidly obese, and that's why he started training in boxing and Muay Thai. Obviously, now he's got a career in MMA. This guy was 100 pound heavier than he is now, age 14. Insane. And here's Jake Collier, who actually was a middleweight and has now gone obese to become heavyweight. Mental. This guy can fight. What is he doing at heavyweight? What is he doing at heavyweight, Mike? Because he can fight.
He went to see his nutritionist. He said, what do I do to get obese? That's all you get obese. It's the Nick Peet diet, McDonald's, Burger King, Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Weight for Jake
Let's go.
Collier.
I'll tell you what, though. It looks all right.
Yeah, he's in.
I'll take it. Mate, I'd love to look like that.
It looks all right, though. Not bad, not bad.
As Mike said
on all right.
Yeah. As Mike said a couple of moments ago, that's all right, mate. As Mike said a couple of moments ago, we are flying through this weigh-in show at the moment, but we are still waiting to complete the 2 title fights. We're waiting for both champions. We've seen both contenders coming through in Marvin Vettori and Brandon Moreno. Both of those gentlemen hit weight a little earlier on. Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz have both been through on the scales and hit weight too, but we are waiting for Deiveson Figueiredo and the middleweight champion Israel Adesanya. Demian Maia and Bilal Muhammad will complete the main card. As I flick through the prelims, only Brad Riddell, if I'm not mistaken, hasn't been through as of yet. Everybody else on point. And then in the early prelims, we've got Stephen Peterson still to come. And then Nick's just waiting to tell us the story of Terence McKinney. We'll wait until Terence turns up so then Nick can tell that story. But it is an absolute cracker. We're waiting for him to hit the scales as well. Obviously, he's took that fight on last-minute notice, an opportunity for him as Matt Fravola's original fight fell off, and he's stuck his hand up and he's come to the UFC party this week. You can see the ticker there, just flicking along the bottom with a little bit more information as to what has happened. If you want to get involved with the show, you can do. Just interact with us via our social media sites. And don't forget, UFC 263 goes down at 1 o'clock in the morning on BT Sports. That's when the prelim gets underway. And then the main card gets cracking from around about 3 a.m. We've got a little bit of a lull in the action, which hopefully our production team are ready to rock and roll with this, because I want to talk to you about getting back on the mats, Mr. Bisping, if that's all right. I'm sure there's a few people I'm sure there's a few people out there that were excited about seeing the trilogy. It was very Rocky Balboa Apollo Creed this week, that wasn't it? You know what I mean? The picture that you both posted that you were going at it for the third time, sensational stuff. Obviously, he's working down with your old coach there, Mr. Perillo. Yeah, and I know that you're still doing bits and what have you. It looks like you're the best of pals there, doing a little bit of work. Is this going to be a regular thing now? Is Mr. Bisping? Wait for this. Hold on. Rolling toe hold alert coming up.
Oh,
there he is. Look at that. There he is.
I was this close.
There's the money.
Hey, I'll be honest. Listen, for people that don't do jiu-jitsu, like when you see somebody's got shoes on, you can grip those shoes so easy. So he had the wrestling boots on, right? And I'm standing up, I'm trying to pass his guard, and I see the boots, and it was like I was like, oh, rolling toe hold, let's go. And I was this close. I'm like, come on, because listen, Luke is a very, very high-level grappler. I've got fake knees. My mobility is terrible. And I'll be honest, he'd been rolling with some other people first, so he's kind of tired. I'm like, here's my chance. Let's jump in. There was cameras everywhere. I thought, I'm going to get him. I owe him one, but I'm only messing. He was great. He was great. He had really good energy. He was being very friendly to everyone. But we're yet to spar. You know what I mean? I'm like, we'll have a little play around in a bit of jiu-jitsu, but I'm sure one day it's going to escalate to a spar, so we'll see what happens then. You know what I mean? He's still got the head kicks. I'm old. I'm past it. I'm 42. I'm retired. I'm old. You know what I mean? I can't throw head kicks anymore. He's still in his prime, but that said, left hook Larry, he can still show up on occasion. We'll see what happens.
As you said, for people that are watching this that don't roll, that haven't been on the mats, how quickly did your knee surgeon call you after watching you do that with the dexterity of your knees? Did they give you a ring and say, Mike, what are you doing, man? What are you doing?
No.
What's going on?
The exact opposite. He took the post, put it on his Instagram, and used it as like a marketing tool for how good of a surgeon he is. I swear to God, there's a big long thing. Oh, yes. Here's Michael. Double bilateral knee replacements only last year, doing jiu-jitsu again. But when I go see him, I get the lecture. I'm like, well, which one is it, doc? On one hand, you're bragging and saying, look at this is great. But then when I go and see him, I'm like, I've got a little bit of pain. He says, yeah, I'm not surprised. You're training like you're getting ready for a world title fight. So, it's always good to be back in the gym and see the lads. And Luke's been in there a lot recently. You know, he's trying to get a good fight. He's trying to get a big fight, a big name. I'd like to see him back in there. Of course, you know, we've got a world title fight. Oh, should I say this? Oh, screw it. I'm going to say it. Yeah, Jack Hermanson. Yeah. He's trying to get a fight with Jack Hermanson. That's who he's targeting. Nice. And I think that'd be a good comeback fight for him. And certainly a fight that would insert him into the conversation again, you know. So, you know, I've had fun with Luke over the years, but you can't deny what he's capable of inside the octagon. So, I'd like to see him back.
Listen, Nick, from our point of view and from fans' point of view, this is what's beautiful about the sport, because these guys have had that rivalry over those years. They've talked the talk with each other. They've walked the walk. They've leathered each other and what have you. And then to see them now at this stage, to be able to do that, that's why I suppose we love mixed martial artists, don't we? You know what I mean? There is an underlying constant stream of respect between the best of the best.
Yeah, of course, and you know, that's fight sports, isn't it? That's martial arts. You know, that's the first thing you're taught when you walk into any dojo or boxing gym or mixed martial arts classes. Respect for everybody around you, and even though you have rivalry and you have trash talk, and obviously at the highest level, the level we're talking about, you know, world title fights, absolute legacies on the line, then it's worth so much more. But you know, Mike's relationship with Luke is similar to like Bellew's relationship with David Haye now. You know, they made a fortune together. They had this intense rivalry. They absolutely hated each other genuinely for a short period of time. And now they're quite pleasant and they're actually, you know, they get on pretty well. And I think that maybe where we crossed over with Figueiredo, Moreno earlier on, they still hate each other. There's still rivalry because it's not done. The legacy isn't finished. Their head-to-head might even turn into a trilogy. So there's no way they're shaking hands anytime soon. I think when it's all said and done in 5 or 10 years, you'll probably see Figueiredo and Moreno going around, you know, doing talks and, you know, sharing the cabs together and everything else. They'll probably be pals then. But right here, right now, there's still plenty of business to be done between them. And you know what? Heated rivalries sell. And so why would you want to be mates? So I get it, man. It's fight sports, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's how it is. You got to look at your opponent, and yeah, you have to respect them. You know, when you're going to fight them, you have to respect them. You have to respect what they bring to the table. If you don't, you're just going to underestimate them. But at that same time, it's a weird feeling. It's mixed emotions because at the same time, they're your enemy. You know, and that's how I used to, not everybody's the same, but that's how I always used to look at it. When I was fighting somebody and I used to like get into all the pre-fight antics and the trash talk. I hate saying trash talk. It's so American, but whatever. Trash talk. I meant everything I said. And a lot of the time I wasn't going in there for a mixed martial arts competition. I was going in there to kick your backside. You know, because you're trying to take away everything. It's the Nate Diaz line. You're taking everything I work for, man. But it's absolutely true. And if you lose that fight, you're at a crossroads in your career. He goes up higher in the rankings. You go down. Maybe you don't get a title shot. There's a lot of things. And this man that's stepping in there to take away all the rest of it.
Taking food off the table.
There you go.
Just had a little bit of pause in the action there on the screen. I thought we were going to get another fighter in there, boys, but it doesn't look like it. So let's get to that question, shall we? That's on the screen. This is an interesting one for you because I suppose there's always going to be comparisons with Israel and Anderson Silva. Now, you've obviously been in the octagon with Anderson Silva, prepared for him and done a camp for him. How would you, if you were in your prime right now and this was you at the weekend, how would you go about preparing for someone like Israel Adesanya and his dexterity of striking?
Well, remember when Izzy first came to the UFC, there was comparisons with Anderson Silva, and he wasn't a fan of that. Now I get that. Izzy is a tremendously accredited kickboxer, and he's done great things, and he's became the champ, and he wants to stand on his own 2 feet. However, those comparisons are always going to be around because there is comparisons. If you look at the way they fight, the way they strike, of course, Anderson was a little bit more dynamic, but you can't take away from the greatness that Izzy has. How would I approach the fight? To be honest, it would be very similar to the way I fought Anderson Silva. It would be almost a carbon copy. I mean, for number one, pre-fight antics, when I went into that fight with Anderson Silva, I said a lot of things, but that was because I was trying to strip him down and look at him as a normal man. I couldn't look at him as this icon, as this god, as this one of the best martial artists that we've ever seen. And Vettori's going to do the same thing against Israel, because if you look at him, you watch his fights, you're going to be wowed. You're going to be, you're going to be overawed by what you see, because he is incredible in there. Now, in terms of physically, how do you approach it? You got to put him on his back foot. They always say crowd a kicker. Now you got to do that with technique. You can't just run forward like a bull in the china shop. Look at what happened to Robert Whittaker. Got caught going in. He was lunging him with that left hook. We've got to use feints. You've got to try and back him up against the fence. Against the fence, he's got nowhere else to back up against. And when you get inside of the kicking range, I mean, he's got good hands, but still you're taking away some of his best weapons. And typically, guys that are good long-range punchers or kickers, they're not too good in the pocket. Now, MMA, you've got knees and elbows, so that does change things. But start a fast pace right from the opening bell, put him on the back foot, and of course, sprinkle in takedowns. I think Jan showed, I mean, Izzy's hard to take down against the fence. I went into that. I won't bore everybody with it one more time.
I think it's a valid point for Mike, for people that haven't seen that. I think that's a really valid point. I think you should bring it up again, because it's a myth about Izzy's takedown, isn't it? You know what I mean? Against the fence, he's very, very good. But the way that Jan had that success, as you explained, was in the center of the octagon.
That's right. In the center of the octagon, there's no fence to lean on. So if you time it right, or let's say underneath a right hand of Izzy, you drop your weight, you shoot in, or even you throw a fake right hand of your own, that's even better. When you throw that right hand, they bring their hands up to defend. And that reveals their hips and their legs. And then you level change, you shoot in, you get a hold of it, and you drive through. Well, there's no fence to lean on, and they're going to hit the deck. Mm-hmm. And I think we saw, I was going to say fish out of water. That's a little bit insulting to Izzy, but his ground game wasn't all that. It was certainly lacking compared to his stand-up, which, of course, is not surprising. He's a specialist at striking. But that's exactly how I would approach that fight. You know, mixing the takedowns, put him on his back foot, put him on a fast pace right from day one, and you can't give him respect. Adesanya, kind of like Anderson back in the day. Anderson would fool with you. He was so tremendously confident. He would help you up off the floor. He would lean against the fence and just mock his opponents, and that messes with you. You know what I mean? It messes with you. It crumbles your confidence. You're like, oh, God, this guy's not intimidated at all. He's just toying with me in there. And that really does mess with your emotions. So give him no respect, put him on the back foot, sprinkle in takedowns, and try and crack him with a good one. I mean, that's about it.
We need Mike Bisping in the corner of a fight just for that type of instruction. Just crack him with a big one. What's the matter with you, man?
Just crack
him and crack
him
with
Armbar.
Nick, how much confidence will Marvin take into this? In fact, UFC I'll come back to that in a minute, because we've got some more guys hitting in the scales right now.
UFC appearance here tomorrow night.
I think this is Demian Maia, is it?
Damian.
Gotta be.
Yeah.
My boy.
Here comes Demian Maia, who's taking on Bilal Muhammad on the main card. A great fight for us all to get excited about. But how much has 43-year-old Demian Maia got left in the tank, especially after only one fight last year where Gilbert Burns took care of him in quite nasty fashion? It's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out, Nick.
Yeah, it is. You know, he's 43 years of age now, and 43 is the magic number these days, but still, he's been around for an awful long time. Listen, if he gets Bilal's back, then Bilal's in big trouble. But the thing with Demian Maia is, yes, he's got a few losses on his record these days, but look at who he's lost against. You know, he's only lost against champions like Woodley and Weidman and, you know, Usman. Covington, top contenders like Covington and Burns, these are the people he loses against, the very best people in the sport. So it's a massive opportunity for Belal Muhammad. It will undoubtedly be the biggest scalp of his entire career if he can get the win. But I tell you what, if he's not 100% prepared for Damian Maia, even a 43-year-old Damian Maia, he's going to be in big trouble, because with that age comes experience. And with experience and the skills that he's got, he knows what he's about these days. He doesn't try and, he's not going to try and box you up. He's looking for openings to take you down, to get on your back, to take your back. That's what he's a master at. And you know what he's going to do, but he's that good at it. I think it's a super intriguing fight, man. And listen, write Damian Maia off at your pedal.
It is interesting that, isn't it, Mike? Because we saw in the Belal Muhammad-Leon Edwards fight, we only got, best part of 6 minutes of it, but there did seem to be not a real disparity, but you could tell the difference between one level and another level at the very top, at the very elite of championship MMA. This is a massive opportunity for Belal Muhammad against the legend of the sport. But Nick's right to say what he's just said there about writing Damian Maia off. You look at the age, you look at the defeats and what have you. If Belal Muhammad's not 100% right at it, he could end up getting wrapped up like a cobra here.
Oh, without question. Without question. Everybody knows if you're fighting Damian Maia, or they should know, avoid the groundwork. I was preparing with the fight with Damian Maia, and then at the last minute they switched it up to Chael Sonnen. But I did 2 months preparing for Damian Maia, and all the training camp was getting back off the floor and on the floor jiu-jitsu defense. You don't want to play that game with Damian Maia. Even now at 43, right? And all right, miles on the clock. He's been knocked out by Gilbert Burns his last fight. As Nick said, he doesn't play that game. He doesn't get sucked into throwing hands and all the rest of it. He's going to back you up, and he's easy to back up his opponents, because as he walks forward, he wants to clinch. So his opponents back away because they don't want to get clinched, and they back up against the fence. And then therefore, when they're against the fence, they can't back up anymore. That's when Damian shoots a single leg. Every time he shoots a single leg, they start defending. He takes the back, he gets them down, and then from there, it can be over very, very quickly. The problem for Belal is that he doesn't mind engaging in those kind of fights. He's not a bad striker. We saw against Leon, he was kind of, he was outmatched in that department. That's fine. Leon's a specialist when it comes to that style. But he's happy to engage in those kind of similar kind of fights, as a Damian Maia. So Belal's going to be very, very disciplined in this fight. He's going to use his grappling to stay on the feet, because he cannot afford to play that game. He cannot afford to get confident and think, you know what? No, I've been competing really well. I've been handling black belts really well in the gym. I'm going to do that. I'm going to go down there. In mixed martial arts, you're going to stick to the game plan. You're going to formulate a plan, stick to it. And that's where the real discipline comes in, because sometimes people get excited. They get carried away in the moment, They see a takedown, they take a takedown. It's like, why did I just take that guy down? He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's been trying to take me down the entire fight. I've been fighting him off. Then I take him down and I go into his world, but it's hard when the adrenaline's flowing through you. You got 20,000 fans screaming. You've been cracked in the face. You're a little bit dazed. You're just fighting on instinct and emotion. That's the hard part. Sticking to a game plan in a mixed martial arts fight when the going gets tough. But that is what Belal's got to do. He cannot afford to go to the ground. Damian Maia, lovely to see him still in there at 43 years old. One of the nicest guys you will ever meet. And I wish him all the best this weekend.
Should be a good one. On the main card against Belal Muhammad. Still waiting for Deiveson Figueiredo and Israel Adesanya, the two champions, the two belt holders coming into UFC 263, have not weighed in as of yet. Their opponents have. Vettori came through good, as did Moreno. We've got Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz already through on the scale. So if you're only just joining us, that fight is done. It's happening. They're off rehydrating right now. Damian Maia, as we've just been speaking about, has just come through. And we've already had Paul Craig and Jamal Hill also weigh in as well. So we've got that kicking off the main card from 3 a.m. on BT Sport. You can see a couple of questions coming in, and we're encouraging people to interact with the show. Please do so via our social medias. If Nate beats Leon, does he fight Kamaru for the welterweight title next? Nick Peet, you're up first on this one, mate. It's been part of our narrative, hasn't it, on the Fight Week shows for some time now. There's this shadow of Colby Covington that just keeps lurking in the background of the Kamaru Usman fight. Does it all come down to not necessarily just a victory at the weekend? Is it the manner of the victory that propels you towards that title fight with Kamaru?
I think so, and I think that goes for either of them as well. I think if Leon limps to a split decision, points win, it's going to be a hard sell to get him in with the champion. I think Covington, who rejected the Rocky Edwards fight, by the way, Colby Covington turned it down. I think Colby Covington probably jumps into that spot. Likewise, I think Nate Diaz really needs to, turn back the clock a little bit, and do something, make a statement like he did in the first fight with Conor, perhaps, to really catch the attention of the champion. But you better believe that if Nate Diaz wins, I think Kamaru Usman would be like, okay, I kind of like the idea of Usman versus Diaz. It's a new look for me, not fought before. It's a new challenger for the belt. And it's Nate Diaz, man. So I know it's going to attract a ton of eyeballs. So I think the champion would be into it. Whether Nate Diaz at this stage of his career has got the ability to beat Kamaru Usman is a whole different thing. But listen, again, let's just see what Nate Diaz has got left in the early hours of Sunday morning first. Because if he beats Rocky Edwards, for me, who is the standout number one contender at 170, then why shouldn't he fight for the title? You've got to beat the man to become the man. Man, whoever emerges Sunday morning with their arm raised, for me, I've got no complaints if they're next with Kamaru Usman.
It's an interesting one, the narrative of the welterweight division, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it is. It is big. I was just going to say, if Nate beats Leon, then it's green panty night for Kamaru Usman. Simple as that, There's no way Kamaru's going to turn that down. It's going to be a massive pay-per-view. Nate Diaz finally getting a title shot out welterweight and against a killer like Kamaru Usman. I mean, there'd be a lot of money on the line there, a lot of pay-per-view points. But interestingly enough, this week in true Nate Diaz fashion, did you see he put a tweet out there, or it was a headline in a story? He said, "I'm fighting for the welterweight title even if I lose." I'm like, it just shows the delusion of grandeur that this man has, which I love it. I love it. It's great. So listen, even if I get beat, I'm still fighting for the belt. I'm sure that's not the case, but that's the narrative going on in Nate's head.
I tell you what, for Nate though, if you're team Nate Diaz, and you do win this weekend, there's probably an even bigger fight for the BMF belt, part 2. With Jorge Masvidal. I think that makes even more money than the Kamaru Usman fights, because Masvidal, of course, is a big pay-per-view star as well. So I think Nate Diaz has got serious options Sunday morning if he gets his arm raised. But obviously on this show, we don't want him to get his arm raised because we're all about Rocky Edwards and that title shot, of course.
I think we're going to be waiting for a while, though. To be honest, I know it's weird for me because as a UFC commentator, we get told all the time we're not allowed to talk, and we got to be totally impartial, which of course makes sense. But on here, you're a very, very pro-British fighter, and of course I am as well. It's awesome. I'm really enjoying this because I've had my knuckles slapped a couple of times. You know what I mean? I've messed up. I remember Cub Swanson. We own a gym together. He's a business partner and he's a friend, and he was fighting someone, and I'm watching the fight and I'm calling the fight, and you're in a bad position. I went, "Come on, Cub." And then straight away the producers in me are like, "Mike, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know, my bad. I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say, I think we're going to wait a while for Figueiredo, and I think we'll be waiting for Adesanya, because Adesanya, from what I'm led to believe, doesn't cut much weight to make 185, so he's not going to be up at the crack of dawn doing that. And Figueiredo, I think he missed weight when he fought Joseph Benavidez the first time. He's had a habit of struggling with weight cuts. Making 125 is not easy. So, guys, get comfy. I think we're in here for the long haul.
Yeah. I can't hear Adam at the moment.
No, he's dead. He's gone. It's just me and you, we don't need him anyway.
It's okay, no problem. Exactly. Yeah. What I will say, though, Mike, is Adesanya's not made 185 since September, because obviously in March, he weighed in 205 pounds for his fight with Jan Blachowicz. So could there be some issues getting that body back down?
Yeah, you know what? To be honest, I was talking about this yesterday. One thing you've got to really respect about Adesanya is that the what's the word? The strength of schedule that he keeps up. The man's very active, and certainly as a champion, he's very active. Not typically, that's not the right word, but a lot of the time you see champions, once they get the belt, they don't fight as often as what they used to. because when you're the champ and every time you fight, you can lose the belt, obviously. And not only do you lose the belt, you lose that championship lifestyle. You lose everything that goes along with it. You lose all the appearances, you lose the money, you lose the sponsorship deals, you lose the everywhere you go, people when you're calling you champ and going to the front of the line and just, there's a lot of perks with being the UFC champion of the world. And every time you fight, you put that on the line. But Israel Adesanya is putting that on the line constantly. Now, to your point, didn't put it on the line then, tried to go up a weight class. That was back in September, right? No, March. December. March, way off. Wasn't even close. March, what are we now? April, May, June. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue for him. I really don't. I think the only reason we haven't seen him now is because he doesn't need to cut weight, too much weight. I'm sure he has to do a few pounds. So he probably got up, and said, we'll do that in the morning. No big deal. We'll go sit in the sun and we'll go for a run, whatever his method is, as opposed to starting at, say, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. But you never know.
Yeah.
It is a fair point.
Yeah.
Adam, are you alive, my friend? No? Just me and you, Nick.
I think his microphone's gone off. That's the problem. It's going to be good to see Izzy back down at his natural weight class, though. And obviously, listen, he dared to be great. I don't think anyone can point the finger and laugh or even criticize him for losing his because too many fighters, like I was a big critic of Demetrius Johnson for a long time because he dominated the flyweight. And I was like, come on, you're dominating everyone. You're regurgitating the same opponents. Move to bantamweight, push yourself. Now, Izzy did that. Izzy kind of cleared the deck at middleweight and then went, right, okay, I'll have a little go at light heavy. I haven't lost any faith in Israel Adesanya and his ability to become an all-time great just because he dared to be great. Potentially, he just took a shot that was the wrong time. Jan Blachowicz maybe wasn't the easier target that they thought, but I think now he's back at middleweight. The pressure's on him now because there's real pressure now to perform and be the best middleweight on the planet again and just say, remind everyone, listen, I dared to be great, man, but I'm back in my weight division and I'm back to rule the roost once more. Different level of pressure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, to your point,
can you hear me, boys?
Yeah, we got you, Adam. We got you, buddy.
All right, yeah. Just so you know. No. I can hear everything that you're saying, right? When Nick realised.
Oh, we've lost you again, buddy.
He's gone again.
You've gone. He's gone again. He was just about to start talking smack. He was just about to say, as soon as he realised that I was gone, Nick tried to move into my shoes straight away. He tried to become the new Adam Catterall with a Scouse accent. And he was gone. Look at the face on him. If a face like thunder. Look at that. Adam, it's not good for your wrinkles, cock. Just relax, simmer down. You're going to get those crow's feet if you carry on so stressed. Look at the smoke's coming out the ears. The cogs are turning. No, I was going to say, he dared to be great and move up a weight class. And same thing with Demetrius Johnson. He stayed there for a long time. It made me think because I was with Demetrius and he used to say, it's not my responsibility to go up to another weight class. Yes, fans might want to see that, but it's not my responsibility. And he's absolutely right. He said, I just want to dominate my division for as long as possible. And that is a fair point. But when you do try and step out of your comfort zone and do what Adesanya did or what Conor did or what DC did, it is a risk. Now, of course, it's a risk of losing a fight, but you're not putting a belt on the line. But still, it's lovely to see what he did. It really is. Adesanya tried to do it. Now he's back at 185, and it's not an easy fight for him. Certainly after coming off for a loss to Blachowicz. And when you remember what Blachowicz did to Dominic Reyes, what he did to Luke Rockhold, you know what I mean? The guy's a serious force.
Yeah, absolutely.
All I'm going to say, boys. All I'm going to say is,
he's there. I was losing it there as well. I was losing it like Adam was.
Yeah. All I'm going to say is the sooner that they have me back on site in Las Vegas for these events, rather than controlling my own Wi-Fi, headphones, and speakers, the better, boys. That's what it's. That's what I need. I need to be back out in the sunshine.
I'm with you, buddy. I'm absolutely with you because it does get a little tricky. You're talking, you're producing, at the same time. Sometimes you lose the train of thought. First world problems, though, Adam. Come on, mate. There's people doing real jobs out there. There's people breaking their backs as we speak, and he's like, "I'm gonna mess with my own Wi-Fi." Oh my God, what is the world coming to?
I love it.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Question on screen from Tamaz8 on our screen there, Mike. You can see who was the hardest hitter that you fought. Who rattled the whiskers the most in the UFC?
Yeah, I get asked this question a lot. I mean, I guess, to be honest, I'm going to go with Dan Henderson. The first time I didn't even feel it, which is great. When you get knocked out, you don't feel it, but I guess they did the job. They hit you pretty bloody hard. And in the second fight, of course, going into that one, the preparation was avoid the right hand. Avoid the right hand, of course. Avoid the right hand. It's that simple. The man built a career on landing that right hand, so he has something to say about that. And the plan was going in. The left high kick was always a good weapon of mine. I thought if I use the left high kick a lot, it's good because you have to block the left high kick. And when you're fighting another orthodox fighter, you block that with your right arm. And if he's blocking a head kick, then he's not throwing a right hand. Of course, you can throw it at the same time, but still. So that was the plan. But yeah, I got to say Dan Henderson, because he cracked me a few times. Second one, he shattered my orbital, which I didn't know till afterwards. If you see the pictures of me after the fight, it's pretty obvious. I remember I was standing in my underpants at the MEN at 7 o'clock in the morning, face black and blue, could hardly see because this eye doesn't work anyway, so that was on the black. And this eye was swollen up like I looked like Frankenstein, and I could only see out of a tiny little slit. And I've got blood coming out my nose, out my ears, I've got bumps and bruises everywhere. And Dana's like, "You got to go to the hospital, Mike." I'm like, "I don't need to go to the hospital, Dana. I'm fine." He's like, "Really? Because you don't look it." And I'm like, "Okay, fair enough. Let's go get checked out."
How would you blag a post-fight medical? How did you blag that post-fight medical? Because like you said, your good eye
with great difficulty, Adam. With great difficulty. That's why I was going hell for leather on not going to the hospital. After every fight, they want to send you to the hospital. And I used to be a real diva. I'm like, no, I don't need to. I'm fine. No, Mike, you got to get checked out because most of the time I got my ass kicked, even in the ones that I did win. I'm like, no, I'm fine. And my manager's like, "Mike, you got to go to the hospital." I'm like, "Are you stupid? You're supposed to be my manager. You know the situation. Just shut up. Don't talk. We're not going to the hospital. We avoid the hospitals like the plague." Okay. Yeah, with great difficulty, Adam.
Guesswork.
I love it.
Nick.
I love it.
He's gone again.
Was he about to ask me this question, do you think? Shall I just rattle through this question?
I've got a question on there. What's the keys to victory in that fight?
Well, I did a big interview with Paul Craig this week. It's up on BT's YouTube channel. Brilliant interview, and he's put a 10-year frame on his career. He's 8 years into his MMA career now. He's only got 2 years of his career to left, and then he is walking away. But we talked about this fight in detail, and critically, rather than stuff that's going on inside the octagon, it was more about the stuff going on the outside, and we've seen that during the Embedded show. Mike talked about it earlier as well, about the way they've clashed, and Paul Craig's instigating all this. He wants Jamal Hill to bite. He wants Jamal Hill to fight angry, because the kid's a striker and he wants him to come out there and start throwing heavy leather and obviously leaving himself open to takedowns. Paul's been around for a long time in the UFC now, and he realizes that it's about making this young guy who's new to the octagon play to his strengths. And what he's seeing, Jamal Hill, heavy-handed striker, young, enthusiastic, trying to impress all the time, of course. If he can rattle his cage enough and get him to engage with him, get him to pull forward, that's how Paul can duck in, score a takedown, and then it's a completely different sport then, because Paul Craig is a supremely talented ground fighter, a wonderful mixed martial arts submission artist. And as he said to me, it's one thing rolling with BJJ black belts. It's a different thing rolling with a black belt who is used to competing inside the octagon. Different sports completely. The no-gi style of jiu-jitsu, the MMA style of jiu-jitsu, just chaining together with strikes. is very different from what Jamal Hill may be doing in a traditional Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym. So yeah, they're the tactics. Paul's just got to go in there, make him fight reckless, and then get that takedown and look for that neck.
Well, one of the things that has impressed me about when he's been in that interview that you did with him is great, and definitely go and check it out on the BT Sport YouTube channel. It's the maturity and his awareness of the maturity. He says when he came to the UFC, he was a little bit green when he started, and obviously, as you've just said, they're working and getting in the octagon with the next level of opponent has really helped his maturity levels, and he seems to be quite a grounded fella outside of the octagon, and he's got an appreciation for where he's currently at in this light heavyweight division, which I think is helping him performance-wise inside the octagon as well. Yeah.
Listen, I just think he's comfortable in his own skin, and that's so important. Yeah. And that comes with age, experience, maturity. I remember when he was BAMA champion, undefeated, he gets into the UFC, and he was totally green, lost a fight, and I remember speaking to him. He lost a couple of fights. I remember speaking to him, and he was like, I'm fighting just to, never mind stay in the UFC, but stay in mixed martial arts. If I don't win this fight, I'll leave the sport. And never mind, the UFC won't have to tell me to go. I'll never walk into the gym again. That's me done. I'll go and find a different job, a different career path. I don't want to pursue something I'm not able to advance in and become the very best of me. And that feels like a million miles away now. Fighting against Shogun in Brazil and everything else. This is life experience that money can't buy. And he's taken all that on board because he is an intelligent guy. He was a school teacher when he started his mixed martial arts career. He's well educated, Paul, and he's a thinking fighter as well. He's got good IQ, and he's no longer trying to be a submission fighter, learning how to throw hands. Now he's a submission fighter, using hands, using feints to get people down, to get his submissions. And that's a massive difference. He's playing to his own strengths now. And that only comes, as you say, with the maturity, with the experience. I tell you what, when you speak to him, he's not trying to convince you he's going to be the next light heavyweight champion of the world. But he will convince you he's on the right path to becoming whatever his destiny is. And that's super exciting.
And let me jump in there, Nick, as well. And it's the belief as well. When he came to the UFC, he had some mixed results. I mean, the talent in the grappling was always there, but he came short a few times. Now he's on 4-fight unbeaten streak, and you're throwing a guy, 2 times, Shogun, you throw him in there as well. It just reinforces everything that he's doing. He's like, hold on, I can compete now. I belong here. I can beat these guys. Now, granted, of course, Shogun, as we know, it wasn't the prime version of Shogun, but still, he still went out there and beat Shogun. Beat him once and went to a draw the other time. That reinforces everything he's doing. And on top of that, with the Gazimat Antigulov against Vinicius Moreira, it's 4 fights now. He stepped in there and come away victorious. I'm going to call that draw against Shogun being victorious as well. I thought that might have been a bad night for him looking at previous form. So everything you just said is absolutely spot on. And now on top of that, he's got real momentum, physically and mentally. And he's going to be very confident, as he should be, coming into this one tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adam?
Mike. Lost him again? There he is. He's pausing now for dramatic effect.
Yeah, I know.
Listen, you're not even freezing anymore. What's going on?
Listen, right, as you can tell, my backdrop's different today. So I'm at the BT Sports Studios. So hopefully our production team will... Well, I think it's my headphones, because there's that many people in the building with different contraptions. Like every now and again, I get somebody's music popping into my headphones and all sorts of little bits and bats. Maybe it's somebody just messing about with me. I don't know. This is what I've got to put up with you. I'm going to show you something, right? Check this out. I'm gobsmacked that there isn't one of these of you, Michael, in the building. Obviously, with you being the star of our show, I thought that you would have one of these. But check this. I've got a Ronda Rousey cutout, right? Staring at me.
No wonder you're distracted.
There you go. We need a Bisping. This is what it is. I need a Bisping cut out at in the BT Sports Studios. Yeah,
that's the last thing they want. They do not want a Bisping cut out of me. No way. I'm bad enough in person. They're like, as soon as I'm there, they're like, get rid of him, get him gone, get him gone. Last thing they want is a cardboard cut out of me, reminding everyone what a pain in the backside I am. Oh dear.
I'll have to. I think I might have to go old school with the headphones because
This
my
fight card
Bluetooth is
was
being
built. The
interacted by the
undisputed
people here at
UFC
BT. So I might get some wired
middleweight
headphones in a
champion,
minute.
the last style bender, Israel
Here we go.
Oh,
Adesanya.
here he is.
Here's the champ.
Here's the champ.
Hopefully my headphones don't pack in during this. This is it. Middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori. The last style bender on the scales.
Lean.
£183.5, the official weight for the champ,
Wow.
Israel Adesanya.
183.5. That's interesting.
That's strange.
Yeah, unfortunately, Adam, I think we've lost you, mate. So I'm just going to chat over you. Yeah, we have the same manager, Audie Attar from Paradigm Sports Management. From what I'm led to believe, he didn't really cut weight. But I haven't spoken to him this training camp, so I don't know. But coming in at 183.5, that would suggest that he did no weight cut whatsoever. You know, because you're not going to go a pound and a half under. Certainly, if you're someone like Israel, that is going to make weight pretty easily. You know, so I would assume that's his walking weight, and that's probably what he'll go into the octagon as. You know, and I do believe that that's going to play into the hands of Marvin's takedowns. The lighter you are, the weaker you are. It's just the fact, you know, not always, but generally with extra strength, so with extra size and weight comes a little bit extra strength. That's going to help you stop takedowns. It's going to help you get back to your feet. Coming in at 183, if he's not cutting weight, he'll walk in, say 185. Vettori, I'd say he'll probably be in that octagon at least 205 pounds.
Yeah. Well, you can put 10% on, can't you, Mike? Isn't every fighter allowed to put 10% on?
I mean, it varies from commission to commission, but so sometimes they just don't care. You know, most of the times when I would weigh in at 185 that night, after I know things have changed since then, but you know, after the weigh-in, I'd go get on the scale right before bed. I'd be 205, 206, something like that. I'd never had a commission member come and check my weight beforehand. Sometimes at the arena they've done it just out of curiosity because they're trying to build data, you know, on what people are doing and how much they're weighing. But I'm not sure why. Did you hear something, Nick? Something about the commission and only
just
allowing
something
10%?
When I'd spoken to, it was actually when I spoke to Paul Craig, you know, he said, you know, I basically said it, you know, how big will you walk to the octagon? And he was like, well, a full 10%, you know, and he was under the impression it was 10%. But I was just curious to whether every UFC event, do the commission weigh you backstage when you arrive at the arena prior to making the walk to make sure you haven't put on too much weight? But that's never happened.
Never happened to me. Now, I do recall there was a movement, if you will, to where they were going to try and monitor fighters to make sure that they weren't cutting too much. And I think they had to, you know, a few weeks out, you had to be within 10%. But it kind of died off pretty quickly. I remember that coming in. I remember it being a thing, being lots of talk about it, but I never really remember it being enforced. So, but obviously, Paul knows what he's fighting about. I'm not there in Glendale. You know, he's dealing with the paperwork and things like that on a daily basis. So if that's the case, so Vettori, let's say £10 over, that's £18, 185 at 18, 203. So yeah, walking at 203, if my math is correct, Adam.
Did he make it? Did he make weight, lads?
Yes.
Oh,
He did.
I've gone old school. Look at me now with these little bad boys on, eh?
Me and you both, buddy. Now you just don't look like. We're on TV.
Go on. Robocop. You're going to give it me, weren't you? No, you don't look like Robocop.
Like these people. Well, they walk down the street with their earbuds in, and you know they're taking calls, and you know it's like, mate, come on, get a grip. Come on, you're a father, Adam. You're a father. Get an old pair of $2.99 headphones off Amazon. It's all you need. Hello?
I can see you, Michael.
Hey.
I can see.
Sorry, guys. Was it just me or was it everybody?
It was me. It was all of us. All of us.
Listen, everyone, this is ridiculous.
If you're watching this at home on the BT Sport streaming service via YouTube and what have you, listen, this happens. This is the modern world where we're at right at this moment in time. But hopefully for UFC 264, our bosses are watching this and they're thinking, do you know something? It doesn't matter what Boris says. Get the lads out to Mike. That's what it is. Get them out to America. We'll sort out the quarantine situation. We'll pay for them to come back and have to live in an hotel or whatever it may be. We need to be on site making this type of content for you because you don't want to be missing out. I didn't even get to see Israel Adesanya weigh in then. Did he make weight, boys? Is he on championship weight? Are we sorted?
He swanned in 183.5 championship weight. I mean, that's like a blown up welterweight, but you're absolutely right. Listen, I mean, we provide some of the best content. Oh, mate, 100%. Come stay at my house, 100%.
At the mansion?
Oh, 100%. Can't wait. We've got 2 names with your bet on right now. And just imagine how good this show would be in person. You know?
See?
Look
at us using this now as a sales pitch to the bosses here at BT to pay for some flights and some hotels out to Las Vegas to go and watch some action. Anyway,
so when I do this, I turn my Wi-Fi off and I use a LAN cable. I go old school, you know what I mean? Because even though we pay for the best Wi-Fi, they don't have BT Sport out in America, you know what I mean? It's some Spectrum or some nonsense, you know what I mean? So I turn my Wi-Fi off and the cleaning ladies are in the house making a lot of noise, I might add. And I'm like, they've unplugged me. They've unplugged the cable. So that's why I ran off. And then when I came back, I'm like, was it just me, lads? So you're not fired. You're good. You can come back next week.
Listen, I'm sure there's loads of people watching this that have gone through the exact same situations. Everybody's living in these crazy times where they're doing Zoom meetings and Skype meetings and all that type of stuff. And someone's just about to say something really important in a meeting and then it buffers and you miss out on the best stuff and all that type of carry on. See what I mean? It's just modern day. This is where we're at right now. Anyway, if you are just joining us on this live stream of the weigh-ins, you can see in the top there's a stream coming in from Arizona. We've got a main event. Israel Adesanya and Marvin Vettori weighed in. They're on championship weight. We're going to get a middleweight title fight at UFC 263. We're still waiting for Deiveson Figueiredo. Mike correctly mentioned a moment or two ago that Figueiredo has had problems with weight in the past. This time last year, I think it was, in that first fight with Joey Benavidez, he missed weight and therefore, even though he won the fight, that vacant title fight, he couldn't go home with the belt and had to obviously rematch Joey Benavidez for another opportunity when he became the flyweight champion. So we're still waiting for the flyweight champ. His opponent, Brandon Moreno, was weighed in. He's getting refueled as we speak. Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz have also weighed in. Damian Maia, Paul Craig and Jamal Hill have all come through. We're just waiting for Bilal Muhammad and Deiveson Figueiredo from the main card. And Brad Riddell from the prelims, if I'm not mistaken, still to weigh in. Terence McKinney, Nick's got a wicked story on Terence McKinney. If he doesn't weigh in, then this story's a waste. We need to get the story out. But I'm letting him off a little bit because he's taken this fight at the very, very last minute notice. So obviously he's going to push it to the max to end up making weight. And Stephen Peterson as well is who we're waiting for. Nobody's missed as of yet. Everybody's come through. The scales are on sound as well. There were a little bit of trouble last time, if you remember, boys, with the scales being all over the place. But everything's bang on. And 263 has that main event, like I said, in the tin. Now then, hopefully our Wi-Fi holds up. Hopefully these new wired headphones that I've got won't collapse on me. So let's get back to the chat. A few more questions coming in. Mike, you can see that on screen there. Do you see? Oh, there's a big question there because if you remember on the last weigh-in show, we were talking about your boys' Commonwealth Games aspirations, my man. Yes. Now, obviously, he is competing, and he's competing at the very, very highest level, and medals are on his mind at the moment. But after that, after he takes home gold for England at the Commonwealth Games, what do you envisage him doing?
Well, one step at a time. He's actually still got to make the team. So he's got trials at the end of June and early August. He's coming over for 2 weeks to try and make the team. And if he doesn't make the team, he can blooming well stay there because no son of mine is going to be a failure, Callum. But you think, hey, listen, you go there, it's a one-way ticket. Simple as that. You only get the return ticket when you make the team. No, listen, yeah, I've talked about it a lot. You know, he's a great grappler. But fighting's a different business. Fighting's a very, very tough sport. You know, I always say there's no prerequisite that you got to come from a disadvantaged background to be in combat sports, but it is a trend that we do see. And I think it definitely helps, you know what I'm saying? Because you're fighting for something. You haven't got too many options, you know what I mean? That's kind of why, funnily enough, I do respect this nonsense with Jake Paul and Logan Paul. They're wealthy guys and they're doing this. Not that we're wealthy, we're not at all, but he's not growing up with hardships, you know, that a lot of fighters do have to endure. However, you know, he is starting to mention it a little bit. I mean, at the weekend, he went to a jiu-jitsu tournament by himself, drove there 2 hours, won the gold in the gi and got the silver medal in the, gold in the no-gi, silver medal in the gi. So he did fantastic there. And I think he probably wanted maybe to, just to say he did it. You never know. But that said, I have had a cheeky little chatteroony with one Sean Shelby. And Sean Shelby's like, mate, you just get him a few wins and he's in, you know. So when he was home last year, we did talk about it. I said, what do you think, son? Do you think you want to give this a try one day? Because he does enjoy it. You know, the wrestling team trains at Team Alpha Male, which is owned by Uriah Faber. So he's around all that culture. He's around those fighters. He sees what they do. And he's a smart kid. He's studying. He's getting a business degree. And I'm sure he's going to, you know, do great things in life of his own accord. But there is a passion there that he does love. He's a massive fan of mixed martial arts. You know, he understands the sport very well. You know, he knows all the fighters. When I first started doing this kind of work on Fox Sports, he was always, I'd be like, Callum, who's this guy? Who's this? And I'm like, okay, Dad. I said, just send me a text. Give me some information. He's like, and he knows every fighter on the prelims and all the rest of it, you know, more than I do. So he loves the sport, but you never know. We'll see. We'll see. But I did say, if you ever fight, I'm your manager. Simple as that. So I think that's going to scare him off. Because I'm like, managers, there's a lot of crooks out there. There's a lot of good ones. Yeah, there's a lot of bad ones. I'm like, listen, if you're going to fight, I'm managing your career. And he's like, okay, well, I guess I'm not going to fight then.
I want to see you in the corner, mate. That's what I want to see, especially with that advice that you were dishing out earlier on. Just crack him. What's the matter with you, man? Just give him a crack and that'll sort the fights out.
Mr. Catterall, that was a joke. No, it would be bad. I remember I had a kickboxing fight years ago in Burnley at the Thompson Centre. You'll know the Thompson Centre in Burnley, Adam? Yeah, I had a kickboxing fight there years ago. My older brother, Conrad. You know, I'm the little pipsqueak of the family. He's 6'6", built like, you know, a barn door or whatever. And the fight, it was a tough fight. And I remember Conrad was up by the ropes screaming and shouting, just embarrassing everyone. I was like, Conrad, I've got this. Sit down. Leave it to me. And I've made to my Thai boxing coach, Daz Morris. He's a Thai boxing coach and he's the love of his life. The mother of his children was a Thai boxer and he was cornering her and she got knocked out, sparkle, face down on the canvas. I was like, how do you do that? That must be so tough. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know if I could corner him if he does fight.
Since tomorrow is a night of rematches, what would be your dream card of only rematches? Great question from Mitchell Ivy. Right, Nick, come on, get the little book of history out while Mike obviously compiles his list. What are you thinking? What springs off the sheet straight away?
I'm just trying to think of the great fights of the past that I would love to see played out again. So, if Gus, I think
we're being treated to this one, this flyweight one. We're being treated, aren't we? Because that was an absolute cracker.
It's an absolutely brilliant fight, and if you're looking at the roster right now, I would love to see, even though the first fight wasn't great, I think Robert Whittaker's completely revitalized now and seems to have his life and his personal issues back on track. I think Robert Whittaker against Izzy back in Australia, out of lockdown, would be absolutely magnificent. I'd love to see that. Gustafsson's on the road back. Gustafsson versus John Jones, one of the greatest fights in the history of the sport. I would absolutely love to see that play out, maybe even at heavyweight, who knows? So I think it's just a case of going down and picking out your favourite fights from history and maybe throwing them together. But, you know, Joanna versus Yang Wai Lee, non-title fight, 5-rounder. Sign me up for that, baby. I watched that too.
That's where
There's some good ones in there, Nick. There's some good ones there, but Gustafsson and John Jones. Really? Really?
I'm just basing it on the fact that this fight was amazing.
DC and John Jones is what I mean, I know DC's retired now, so that ship has sailed, but DC and John Jones, I would love to see a third fight. Obviously, there was the asterisk over the second one, you know.
Yeah.
At heavyweight. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah, that'd be good as well.
Yeah.
Here's one. Uriah Hall versus Chris Weidman. I spoke to Chris Weidman on the podcast yesterday at length. He's healing up. Believe it or not, 6 weeks after he snapped his leg, he was in the gym yesterday doing a little bit of light boxing. Nothing crazy, just very, very light. But moving around 6 weeks after that horrific injury. I think it was 6 weeks. So, I mean, that's insane. So after what happened, I'd like to see that rematch as well. So stick Uriah Hall, Chris Weidman, DC and Jones. Who else did you say? Oh, Yang Wei Li and Jacek. I mean, we're doing pretty good here. We're putting together a pretty solid card. Conor versus Dustin, but that's already booked. Sorry, Adam.
No. Listen, I think Nick nailed it with the Wiley and Joanna fight. That's 100% at the top of my list. Here's one for you, boys, and it could happen off the back of what we see at the weekend. Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards. Come on, lads. That's the rematch that we all want to see, innit? That's where we want to be going. 5 rounds, championship fight. Let's go.
Yeah, sure it is. Yeah. We just need Leon to make a statement first. Leon needs to make a statement. That's what he needs to do.
Keep your questions coming in.
You never look past an opponent. We can't think. The only reason you thought of that is because you've never put a pair of gloves on in your life. Okay? Mentally, I can't think of Leon in another fight. He's got Nate Diaz tomorrow. The cardinal sin in combat sports, never look past your opponent. So,
This is an interesting question. I'm trying to think of the answer to this. Alex, if the England football team were a UFC fighter, who would they be? This is obviously, for people watching this worldwide that are not into football, obviously the Euros gets underway this evening. England have got Croatia over the weekend. They're involved in the tournament. I don't know if you know this, Mike, right? But I know that you're a huge patriot, obviously very proud of fighting for your country and representing your country of birth all over the world. Nicholas Peet here is from the same country that you are from. However, he has decided for these Euros, even though he has no lineage whatsoever to those north of the border, he's decided to support Scotland. No idea why, mate. Absolutely. Nick, do you want to explain the reason why you are cheering on the boys from north of the border rather than your own?
Yeah, well, I just thought it's all set up this weekend with Paul, Craig and Jojo to get things going. Andy Robertson's the captain.
You're not
Andy Robertson's the captain. So, and I don't really find any affinity with the people that go and stand on the terraces and support England. Let's leave it at that political answer, shall we?
Whoa.
So yeah, I've swerved England. Listen, I'm proud to be British. When the Olympics rolls around,
doesn't sound like it. Does not sound like it.
When it comes to football, when it comes to England. Now, I went to Germany for the World Cup, and when England were playing in that city, and I got a train that way.
Explain that.
It's more fun to go on the piss with the Dutch.
Oh God, that does sound like fun. We've lost you again, Adam. I hate to tell you. Yeah, sorry, mate. Yeah, you know what? I do enjoy football.
It's a weird question about which fighter, because there's an article being put up at the moment, and it's about they've assigned, because it's the European Football Championships start today, and they've assigned a mixed martial arts fighter to each country, and that's where the questions obviously come from. England was described as Marvin Vettori. And I couldn't really quite get my head around why England was Marvin Vettori. I think they said he was, big, loud, brash, but ultimately limited. I think that's kind of does sum up England, and maybe in some kind of way. But it just felt weird having a Californian-based Italian described as the England national team. Weird question, but...
So if you were to embody the qualities, the stereotypical qualities of the English football team, pardon me, what would those qualities be?
Overrated, overpaid.
I don't think you're doing yourself any favours there, Mr. Scotland, Braveheart, Turncoat. I'm retiring. I'm done with this. I'm handing in my resignation. I can't work with this guy anymore, Adam.
Have you noticed the way Catterall asked that question and then pulled the plug on his microphone and hung me out to dry big time?
Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Adam. We haven't got you, buddy. Sorry, mate.
I'm just lip reading there, and Adam's just said, I completely agree with Nick. I despise England too. I'm actually supporting Wales. So he's a Wales fan. He's a big Wales fan. So there you go.
So what's going on, Nick? Do you got Welsh blood, Irish blood, Scottish blood?
Well, my wife is McDonald.
Scouse blood.
So
Scouse. That's all he is.
My wife's
100%
Australian.
Scouse.
I'm not running around dressed as a kangaroo, buddy. What's that got to do with anything? See those colours? Back there? Very proud of that.
Get it. Mate, the Union Jack. I'm all about the Union Jack. The St. George's Cross. Nah, man. Give it to someone else.
Unreal.
Scouse not English.
Your question on the qualities of the England team, Michael. Defensively, they're wide open. But offensively, fantastic. They're all out attack, mate. That's what it is. They're all about the attack.
So Marvin Vettori then wouldn't be a bad choice because he is very aggressive and does go forward with a lot of power and momentum, but he does leave himself open to counters and whatnot. And that's what Adesanya is going to look to do in this fight. He's going to look for those counters. He's going to try and be the smarter guy, be the sniper, see the openings, So, yeah, actually, Nick, I think that's a pretty good comparison.
There you go. Mad little program, this. Wi-Fi and internet connections all over the place. And now we're talking about comparisons of fighters to be footballers. Go on, mate.
Just in case you missed it, I did lip read you when you went off. And I did tell everybody that, like me, you're not supporting England. But unlike me, you are supporting Welsh. You're supporting Wales.
Hey?
So just to fill you back in. And let's go to the next question. So question from Azim.
Ridiculous.
Who's asking, who is getting
That's the most ridiculous thing.
Shh. Put the daffodils away. Who's getting performance of the night, Mike? Not
performance of the night. I'm going to go out.
Performance of the night.
Yeah. I'm going to say Nate Diaz. What am I saying? Leon Edwards. And I'm not just saying that, to try and demonstrate how profoundly patriotic I am and how I stick up for my own, and I support the people from my home country. That's not why I'm saying that. I'm saying it because I do believe that he's going to go out there and beat Nate Diaz in style. And I think anytime anybody beats Nate Diaz in style, it's going to capture everybody's attention. I mean, if you look at the fluidity of the strikes in his last fight against Bilal, I mean, Leon was on fire. I mean, listen, I really like Bilal Muhammad. He's a great guy. No one has anything bad to say about Bilal. He's universally liked, throughout all of the sport. He's a good guy. He's one of the sport's good guys, but he was losing that fight. And the poke in the eye was very unfortunate, but all that did was save him from, I would suggest, quite a thorough beating. Now he could have proved me wrong, but I think that showed us the rest of the fight. It was going to go down. Leon Edwards was going to smoke him, and he was going to get an impressive victory. I think he's going to go out there against Nate Diaz. I think he's going to put a hell of a fight on. He's going to beat him to the punch, beat him to the kick, and I think I got to be careful because, Diaz fans are very, very passionate about their guys. But I think he's going to embarrass him. I really do. The other day I did an interview with somebody and I said, what was the word I used? It was like massacre or something like that, or it's going to be an embarrassment or something. And, whoa, my inbox on Instagram, oh, my God. You know what I mean? They came after me, the Diaz army. But it's true. I do think that Leon's going to go out there and beat him in every sense of the word and probably get a performance of the night.
I think it's coming from that fight, isn't it? I think the performance of the night is most certainly coming from that fight. And it's hard when, as you just rightfully said there, Mike, you've got all these people from all over the world that watch our programme, and it's very easy for them to just to associate our opinion as being British, and therefore, you're just supporting the Brit in the fight. But when you break down the skill set and you break down where they're at in their careers and everything that has gone into the build-up towards this fight, it's very hard not to look past Leon, because I think it's just made for him to look absolutely fantastic and announce himself to the world and hopefully, get that opportunity to fight Kamaru Usman for the world title. And
this is why I respect Nate Diaz so much. I mean, again, I'm trying to think of the word I used because it was a bad word that I used and it did kind of sound a little bit disrespectful, but I just really believe that Leon's so much better, and while I recognize the brilliance of Nate Diaz and what he brings to the table, I still, if I struggle to see how we can win this fight. I really do. But again, to the point I said a moment ago, that's why you've got to respect Nate Diaz. And that's why people do love him all over the world, because he is, for want of a better word, a true gangster in there, if you will. He will fight anyone, anywhere. He is real. It's not an act. You know what I mean? And this is an incredibly dangerous fight. Now, of course, I'm assuming the risk reward is very good for Nate Diaz. If he goes out there, beats Leon, he gets to fight for the world title. But if he loses, it chips away at this persona. It chips away at his public reputation. So it's not like he has nothing to lose. Of course he does. His entire brand is being a badass. His entire brand is being the guy that will step in there with anyone. But it's also winning fights. You got to win fights. And
it was 5 years ago, for goodness sake. So you're going to judge him on the Pettis, of course, the great win, but then the Masvidal loss. Now, the Masvidal loss was due to cuts because he's got so much scar tissue around his face. He separates beautifully with those elbows. Those elbows are like razor blades. And that could be a huge turning point in the fight, because we could see another repeat of what happened in New York. The doctor stopping the fight because Nate Diaz has got claret spilling everywhere.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because the timing of those elbows from Leon, it is phenomenal. He is so good with them. And as we know, as you just said, elbows slice skin open like no other strike. Now, granted, what you said is correct, Nick. Diaz does have a lot of scar tissue, but that isn't the only reason his face and the fight got stopped. It's because Masvidal found the target many, many times. Masvidal's a slick boxer. He's fast. He's powerful. We know how good Masvidal is. But the scar tissue is part of it, but also the brilliance and the performance that Masvidal put on is another reason. Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. Was it the fourth round? I think it got stopped. Yeah. Diaz never really got going. Masvidal just beat him. He was one step ahead every step of the way. And I don't believe anything would have changed. And as I said before, I expect Leon to do a very, very similar thing.
Mike, what's your thoughts on inactivity? Because I know that both of these guys have been inactive for a long period of time. I mean, Leon's only had that one fight with Belal in that period, hasn't he? Yeah. But Nate's older than him by quite considerably. At 36 years of age, he didn't fight the whole of last year. This is his first fight since 244. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, in your opinion?
I don't think it's either. I mean, generally, I do like fighters to stay active. The more active you are, the more you fight. Every time you have a fight, you have a training camp. And every time you have a training camp, you grow in terms of your skill set, in terms of your, you learn how to prepare for fights. Because every time you train for a fight, you tweak it a little bit. So, that was good that time. That one was bad. I'm not doing that again. And you learn and you get better. And then towards the end of your career, you can have it perfected. Time away, people talk about ring rust, A lot of people say that's a mental thing, and that's down to the individual. With a guy like Nate Diaz, I don't really see ring rust being a factor. For all the qualities that people love Nate Diaz for, I think that's going to help eradicate the myth of ring rust. But we don't know. We don't know. He might get in, as you said, 36. Not a spring chicken anymore. Nate Diaz, when we first saw him come into the UFC on The Ultimate Fighter years ago, he was a kid. You know what I mean? Now he's 36. 36 means you're getting to the end of your career. 36 means you're maybe starting to slow down a little bit, And of course, inactivity, it's hard to see. It's hard to know. All we do know is that Masvidal smoked him last time. And was that because he was starting to slow down? Was that because the best years were behind him? I don't think so. I honestly don't think it was, but it could be a factor. And almost, 20 months or so away from the octagon, it may cost him come fight night. You just don't know. We don't know until he steps in there. A lot of people have a different methodologies when it comes to ring rust. A lot of people have very, very varying opinions. Ultimately, that comes down to the individual and their mindset.
I suppose we could use the same argument, can't we, Nick, for Leon? Because he's only had that one no contest in that long period of time. He's had an extremely frustrating year, and he's been out of the octagon. But as Mike said moment or two ago, the 5 minutes that we did get to see against Leon against Belal, he looked like he hadn't missed a beat. He looked mint.
Yeah, he did. And I think the difference is as well, I think, Nate Diaz in his time away, he's off doing other things. He's running triathlons. He's trying to smoke all the weed in the world. He's doing other things. He's got other things going on in his life. Whereas Leon, yes, he's only had one fight in 2 years, but he's pretty much been in camp for of those 24 months, I think he's been in camp for 20 months, waiting for certain fights, prepping, bringing it up, taking it back down. He had fights fall off, postponements, everything. The difference there is he's in the gym grinding. He's there getting better day by day. Obviously, his brother competes at a high level as well. So, as the team they've got there in Birmingham, a quite close-knit team. So he's been part of other people's camps, helping them spar, move them around. I guarantee Nate hasn't been doing that. Nate's probably just doing a lot of rolling, a lot of jiu-jitsu, and as I say, a lot of smoking, where the difference is I think Leon's getting better and better and better and better. So, listen, hopefully we see that this weekend. But yeah, I think the difference between being away from the sport is very different. 36-year-old Nate Diaz to a very much at his peak Leon Edwards. He knows he's at his peak. He can't afford to have time off. I think he's only gotten better.
Good question on the screen here from Let's Talk Fights podcast. See, we'll give you a little bit of a shout. If you take the time to contact us, we'll give you a little bit of a mention for whatever it is that you're getting up to. So there you go. Good luck with everything that you do with the podcast. But they're basically asking who has the more potential to be the bigger upset, Vettori or Moreno. Now, I'll go on record. I'll say I personally think we're going to see 2 and stills. That's what I think. So I can't see an upset. Mike, do you see an upset in either of the title fights?
I certainly see the potential for one, and I wouldn't be alarmed, and I wouldn't be surprised, and I wouldn't be like, wow, this is crazy, right? Vettori has the ability to beat him. Moreno just went to a blooming draw. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really see how either of them would be an upset. It would go against my prediction. I agree with you. I think we're going to see standstill on both sides. In terms of the actual question, though, the bigger upset would be Vettori. Moreno's just shown in his last fight he can go to a draw. Okay, there was the point deduction, but whatever. But the points are deducted for a reason. So if Moreno does it, he's just slightly improving on the fight that he had last time round. I think pretty much everybody expects Vettori to give a good fight, but to get beaten. So yeah, Vettori goes out there and wins this and beats him, which, by the way, isn't beyond the realms of reality. I'm saying I think Adesanya is going to win. But trust me, Vettori's a big man. He's a wild man. He believes in himself. He's aggressive. He's going to have the courage to go forward. I don't think he's going to be intimidated by the moment, and rightly so. He's been in there with him before. That there's a lot of affirmation from that says to him, this man can't knock me out. I went to a split decision. If we had rounds 4 and 5 the first time round, things could have been different, So I think Vettori's going to come into this one very, very confident. I'd put my money on Adesanya, but if he wins, I wouldn't necessarily call it. Well, it would be an upset technically, but it wouldn't be mind blowing.
Nick, what do you see in those two, that main event and co-main event, the 2 title fights that we've got there? Are you on board? Are you thinking and still for both of them, or are you seeing something maybe against the grain?
No, listen, I hate to do it, but I agree with both you guys. I'm just looking there for the latest odds, and Vettori is plus 215, whereas Moreno is plus 190. So forgive me if I'm wrong, Mike, but I think that means that Vettori is the bigger outsider with the bookies in Las Vegas compared to Moreno. And I agree with that. I think Adesanya, okay, he's coming off the first loss of his career, but if it's a loss that I think will light a fire in his belly, he wants to come back and prove a point. I think I watched the first fight back with Vettori last week, and it was never a split decision. There's no way Vettori won 2 of those rounds. I think Adesanya won the first 2 rounds quite comfortably, to be honest with you. I think Vettori's performance in the 3rd round maybe has got a crack in the door to see how he could be a route to victory. But as we've talked about already on the show and on the preview show, Adesanya's takedown defense is so much better than it was in his second UFC outing. And I just think it's all about, iron sharpens iron. It's about who you've been competing against. Yes, Vettori's had that great win over Jack Hermansson. There was a formula to beat Kevin Holland. I think the standard of opposition that Adesanya's been beaten at middleweight is far superior. His evolution as a mixed martial artist has been superior than Vettori. So yeah, I think Vettori beating Adesanya for me would be a much bigger underdog story. But I don't think this card's not about underdog stories. For me, this card's about champions adding to their legacy, and obviously, hopefully, Leon getting that title shot.
I think the audience as well are on board with everything that you two have just said. I know we've got a question on screen there, but we've had a couple of polls running on our social media platforms throughout the course of the show. Main event poll, repeat or revenge. We've got Adesanya. I think it's still at 82%. It was a minute ago when I just checked it. 82% fans believing that Adesanya will get the job done against Marvin Vettori with 18%. So therefore, they would agree with what you guys have just said there. There you go. It's on the screen now. That if Vettori won, it would be a bigger upset than the Figueiredo-Moreno fight, because the co-main poll, if we can have a look at that one as well, shows that Figueiredo is the favourite with the fans, no doubt about that, but 67-33. So the bigger upset would be exactly what you guys have just said with Vettori. Whilst we're at it, I think we've got a poll as well for the Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz fight. It's a shame not to put all this great work to good use. And Leon Edwards there coming in as the favourite in the fight as well with the fans. 71% of fans who are watching us believe that Leon Edwards will get the job done against Nate Diaz. There you go. Thank you very much for that. Now let's. I think we had a question a moment or two ago. From Sam, if we can flick that back up on the screen there. Is it a concern, I think Sam was asking, that we haven't seen Deiveson Figueiredo on the scales as of yet? Yes, it is. It is. I mean, he's obviously pushing it right to the wire. He's had problems in the past, Mike. Are we in danger of maybe the champ losing his belt on the scales here?
I mean, only time can tell, but he is pushing it. What's he got? 23 minutes? 23 minutes left, and he's bringing it right down to the wire. Now, you never know. You never know. Maybe they planned for this. You know, there is that potential. You know, there's no rush, you know, but it doesn't look good. It's not ideal. It's not ideal because also sometimes you come down and maybe you miscalculated a little bit and then you're going to go, you know, sweat off half a pound or whatever. Maybe there's an inconsistency with the scales. The one in the hotel room or your bedroom doesn't calibrate with the one that the officials are using. So the fact that there's only 23 minutes left, that is a little concerning. As we said before, he does have history when it comes to this kind of things. He is a big man for a flyweight. So, I mean, I hope it comes on. I want to see this fight. I know everybody wants to see this fight. And come on, Figueiredo, get on that treadmill, son. Let's go.
Mike, just a quick one on the process at the moment during these restrictive times and COVID times and what have you for weight cutting, because fighters will have obviously a normal regime. They're used to go into certain places. They'll be able to use saunas at free will. They'll be able to do a certain way of getting that weight off. And obviously these restrictive times have maybe hindered those things. What's it been like? While you've been on the ground, obviously in and around Vegas and the Apex and stuff like that, what has it been like for fighters having to change their normal weight cut routine in order to make sure they're bang on it when they do hit the scales on weigh-in day?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, there is certainly that is an issue, you know, because saunas and things like that with the COVID rules aren't as accessible as they used to be. However, I think most days the people, fighters when they're cutting weight, they don't really need anything other than their bedroom for the most part. Well, saying that, no, that's actually incorrect. So in your bedroom, you start with the salt baths. You start with the salt bath, right? And obviously all you need is a bath in your hotel room. You cover yourself in a product called Sweet Sweat, which, you know, just causes you to sweat more. You cover yourself in that. You get in the bath, and the bath is roasting hot as you could possibly take it. And I used to put in about 10 litres of salt in the bath. Osmosis, it just sucks water out of your body. Then you get out of the bath, you've got the heat, the room as hot as possible. You get in the bed, you put your sweatsuit on in the bed, sauna suit, and you corner and cover you up with towels. You sweat like crazy. Then you stay there for 20 minutes. 20 minutes in the bath, 20 minutes in the bed. Then you get back in the bath again and you repeat the process. When you do that, you do about 6 or 7 pounds, and then you try and sleep that night, and then you repeat the process in the morning. Now, to your point with the saunas, typically, well, not typically, sometimes you bang on, but sometimes you're like a pound away or a pound and a half. And then it's that point you can't bear to get back in the bath because it's so uncomfortable and you're so sucked out. You're like a zombie at this point and you're dying. And just sitting in a sauna is a lot easier. I'm not sure what facilities they have. I know that now in the States, a lot of the COVID restrictions are lifted. That's probably why they're in Glendale and Arizona, because fans are allowed back in the building. If fans are in the building, then saunas are probably allowed. But no doubt. I know there's a lot of money being bet on the fights, but if I could take a bet right now that Figueiredo is in a sauna and he's hating life, and he is swearing at all of his coaches, and his coaches are locking him in the sauna like that old clip of The Ultimate Fighter back in the day, and he's banging on the glass trying to get out like he's some kind of quarantined animal. That's what's going on right now. Figueiredo is panicking big time.
Even the access, like Nick, access to gyms and stuff like that, you know what I mean? When you're just the process throughout the course of the week of just being able to do a bit of work on a treadmill or whatever, you have no doubt that they have to book slots, or had to. I know that it's different now with Arizona being open and what have you, but just that whole process just messes with everything. Even food, you know, certain places aren't open in order to get your diet right and all that type of thing for camp.
Yeah, I think, fighters have had to deal with that for the last 16 months, and that was part of the conversation I had with Darren Stewart. You know, he was like, I don't want to get to Glendale, or if it gets moved to the Apex, be in a situation where I can't buy the food I want, I can't get access to a sauna, I can't get access to a gym when I need it. You know, it just made his weight cut from being impossible to being completely unbearable. And that was part of the conversation as to why he's asked for this fight and requested the light heavyweight. He didn't want to weight anymore, never mind make weight under restricted access. But having spoken to one of the officials out in Glendale this morning, I spoke to them and they were like, it's fantastic. It's like COVID doesn't exist anymore. You know, everything's fully open. All the bars, the restaurants, the gym's open, the sauna's open. Fans are milling around. You haven't got to wear a mask everywhere. So from what I'm hearing, everything's pretty much back to normal in Arizona. So there shouldn't be those kind of issues. Now, yes, he does. He's big, Figueiredo. He's huge at the weight. You know, he missed it last February, Joe Benavidez. You know, the fact that he won that fight is the only reason why he got to the fight for the title again straight afterwards. Had he lost, or, you know, for whatever reason, he probably wouldn't have got that shot. Obviously, he won the rematch, picked up the belt, got a first win, then went straight in to this fight with Moreno after 21 days. And, you know, that was the big calling card. Oh, imagine what he like whole camp. The difference here is, though, is he didn't have 21 days to put on weight. He had 21 days where he had to control his weight. He stayed in Vegas. He went straight into a fight. Now he's gone home for a couple of months. He's back to mama's kitchen. He's eating at home again. He's living in Brazil. He's training the way he used to does. And now suddenly it's come back again. It can mess with your body, you know, fluctuating the weight, restricting your eating, then eating like mad again, then trying to cut it back again. You know, he's not a young guy anymore, Figueiredo, and you know, they should have really foreseen the fact that this was always going to be a tough weight cut for him. And now, you know, we've got almost 15 minutes to go, and it's not looking good. I would hate to see him lose the belt on the scales. There's nothing worse than seeing a champion lose his belt on the scales.
Could you imagine?
I know.
Sorry.
I know. Listen, at the end of the day, last year, I know it didn't start well for him on the scales, but he was one of the fighters of the year. A lot of people were hyping him as one of the fighters of the year. I think if he takes care of Brandon Moreno at the end of the year, rather than draw with him, many people would have voted him the 2020 UFC Fighter of the Year. It's going to be interesting. We've got 15 minutes to find out whether Deiveson Figueiredo is still the UFC flyweight champion. He hasn't weighed in as of yet. His opponent, Brandon Moreno, has come through. We've got a title fight in Adesanya and Vettori. Both of those guys have hit the scales and done the business. Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz have also weighed in. Still waiting for Bilal Muhammad. He hasn't come through either, taking on Damian Maia. That's going to be an interesting one. And we're still waiting for Brad Riddell as well, who is Israel Adesanya's teammate. He's got to come through for that one against Drew Dober. But the rest of the prelims, all done and dusted. Anders and Stewart, Murphy and Calderwood, and Evloev and Dawodu have all come through as well. Still waiting for a couple of the early prelims. Do you want to tell your story now, Nick? You might as well tell your story. We've only got 15 minutes left, haven't we? You know what I mean?
You've had me in suspense all day. Come on,
mate,
let's hear this story, pal.
So Terence McKinney is fighting. He's coming last minute to fight Matt Frivola. Go for it, Nick. All yours. You've been waiting to give us the story. Give it us.
This is the best. This guy's making his UFC debut, Mike. Now check this out. For the worst trip of all time. 2014, police in his hometown find him in an alleyway. And the great thing, there's actually footage out there. You can go and watch one of the police cams of the actual footage. They find this guy out of his tree on LSD and mushrooms in an alleyway. and I have to tase him multiple times to get him under control. Imagine the trip he's on, that suddenly he's round a bend on LSD and mushrooms, and then he's getting tasered by the police, and then they cart him off to hospital. In hospital, his heart failed twice. He was announced dead twice in hospital. He comes through it, miraculous recovery. 18 months later, he starts training MMA. Here he is now making his UFC debut. What a story. Terence McKinney, please make weight. Please come in. We want to keep that story going. What a bad trip.
I was going to say, he sounds like me back in my DJ days. If I can do it, anyone can do it. Oh, my
Thursday
word.
night.
No, that is wild.
Thursday night. Yeah, it's crazy.
It's Clitheroe, down the Key Street.
Yeah.
Let's go. No, I'm kidding, of course. Oh, my word. That's funny. Wow, what a wild man. As you say, in this modern day and age, everybody's got a cell phone. Well, the cops these days, they always have them on. But I'm so happy. Back in the day, I mean, when I was being an idiot, I'm glad people didn't have a camera in their pocket everywhere they went. Thank God for that.
Life used to be so much easier, didn't it? We could just crack on, and then all it would be a hangover the day after, and then that would be it. End of chat. Not being reminded about it for weeks and months and years. But what a story for Terence McKinney. There you go. Let's, as you've just said, Nick, let's hope that he makes weight and gets his UFC debut.
I tell you what, though, there's going to be a lot of, I mean, for the people that don't know that, you know, just watch the UFC and consume it on TV, obviously it's a massive machine. There's a lot of staff on hand, you know, and I would assume that right now there's a huge sense of panic. I mean, this is a big fight. It's a pay-per-view event, you know, that has ramifications on a lot of things, you know, so all hands on deck right now. We're trying to do everything they can because the UFC are great. You know, they really do assist the fighters in many, many ways. Even from when I retired to now, it's day and night. The assistance that you get when you got the PI at your disposal whenever you need it. When you show up when you show up at the hotel, anything you need in terms of assistance, maybe it is a sauna or whatever it is, UFC try and make it happen. They have trifecta meals. As you mentioned then before with Darren Stewart, you know, I used to get to these weird countries and weird cities, and you're wandering around and you're going into hotels and you're trying to find certain foods and you're looking on the menu like, this ain't going to work. And then the waitress comes and maybe they don't speak the language and you're like, no salt, whatever you do, because it's salty, makes you hang on to water. And they're like, what's he talking about? No salt. Just throw some salt in it. It's going to taste better. You know, like, no, please, no salt. It's such a stress. Now they have the trifecta meals. They'll formulate those meals to how much weight you're trying to lose. They provide you with the sweet sweat. They provide you with low calorie and low carb electrolytes. They do everything they can to make sure the fighters are well looked after and have everything they need to make weight and put on a show for the public. You know, and now with 12 minutes left and Figueiredo not showing up, you know, it's a problem. It's a big problem. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of stress going on backstage right now, I would assume.
It's going to be interesting to see, listen, we're guessing at the moment. We've got 10 minutes. He's got 10 minutes, obviously, to hit weight, keep his belt, and then we move forward with a flyweight title fight tomorrow night. Of course, Brandon Moreno's made weight, so he's done his bit of the deal. As far as he's concerned, he's fighting for the flyweight championship tomorrow evening. What happens? I know we've been here before with Deiveson Figueiredo, and he beat Joey Benavidez, and they rewarded him with an opportunity to fight Joey Benavidez again in order to become the flyweight champion. But there's a couple of guys in that flyweight division now that have been floating around, putting in some good performances and climbing up the ladder in order to get in the position to maybe fight the winner of this. If Figueiredo misses weight and he wins and the title is vacant, does he get another opportunity to fight for the belt again? What do you reckon?
I think so. I don't know. Actually.
It's hard, man, because they've given him the chance. They've given him the chance once.
Yeah. The thing is, I think what they see in Figueiredo though is opportunity for a big star. You know, he's got the knockout power. He's got the viciousness. He's got a little bit of swag. You know, he has that little jaggedy thing in his haircut and whatnot. You know, he's got star material. And who knows? Maybe in the next few minutes, he might saunter onto that stage with his sunglasses on, cool as a cucumber. Like, no, you give me 2 hours, this is what I'm going to do. You know what I mean? if we're being honest right now, he still has the window. He's playing the rules. He's playing along with the rules right now. He hasn't done anything wrong. So he may walk out in a second, as I say, with a big smile on his face, saying, no, this was always the plan. And as I said a moment ago, I think the UFC really see him as a potential huge star down the line. And I think they want people like that to be a champion. However, with being the champion, there comes a lot of responsibility with that. The first responsibility is making blooming weight on a world title fight. If he doesn't do that, then of course it is not a good look. So I really don't know, Adam, to answer your question.
That's interesting that one of our good friends, Brett Okamoto from ESPN, has just tweeted this regarding the weighing rules in Arizona. Per UFC's Mark Ratner, if a fighter misses weight, they are evaluated by a physician and given an extra hour in order to cut the weight. Yeah. Even outside of the allotted 2 hours.
Yeah. So that's if they miss weight, though. He hasn't shown up.
He's got to get on the scales.
He hasn't attempted to make weight yet. And generally you do see that if you miss weight, you are given an extra little bit of time because it's in everybody's interest for the fight to go ahead. The Athletic Commission want it to go ahead. The UFC want it to go ahead. Everyone buying tickets wants it to go ahead. And as long as, because sometimes you see the fighters walk out and they try and make weight and it's clear that they have tried to kill themselves almost to make weight. And then a medical professional will say, no, I'm sorry, this is too dangerous. This fight is off or you're not trying again. However, it does look like something's ramping up. Someone's messing with the scales. I'm hoping Figueiredo walks out. But if he tries to make weight and he's deemed, well, as the tweet said, if he's okay, if a medical professional says, no, he's all right, then he will get extra time.
All right, next fighter.
Looking at this.
The UFC's featherweight division, Steven Peterson.
We're going into the early prelims. We're going into the early prelims. Steven Peterson weighing in here. He's taking on Chase Hooper in the featherweight contest. If you just joined us, we've got 8 minutes remaining. Sorry, mate.
Sometimes the look on your face when you're close to weight is like you're on LSD and meth or whatever it was. So
mushrooms.
He'll be used to this.
I like the way that you're giving him meth rather than mushrooms there. Yeah, it was mushrooms.
Sorry, my bad. I knew there was an M in there. I didn't know what it was. My bad.
This is Steve Peterson. We haven't seen this guy in the UFC since 2019. He won with a first round spinning back fist. Biggest moment of his career, performance bonus. We haven't seen him for 2 years, and now he comes back against Chase.
Let's see if he makes weight. This one at featherweight. If you are just joining us, we've got 7 minutes.
148 and 1/2 pounds. The official weight for Steven Peterson.
He's missed big. You're not shifting that, son. You're not shifting that.
That's not missing weight. That's failing to make weight, isn't it? There's a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big miss from Steven Peterson. I don't know what he's thinking to do. Has he still got his kecks on? They're going to be heavy kecks if he thinks he's going to shift. What is he going to shift? 2 pounds? What's he got on them?
2.7.
Must be that Egyptian cotton. Must be that Egyptian cotton again, Mike. You know what I mean? It's the good stuff. He's wearing the good pants.
That's the one. Who knows? Maybe he was cutting it fine and he's made a little deposit in there. So he's got to strip that off. Or he's just waiting in. I think he's resigned himself to the fact I've missed weight. He's put his pants on. I want to get a picture with a little bit of dignity. Oh, well. Listen, you know what? The thing is, when someone takes a short notice fight, you can understand why they miss weight. However, they did make an agreement. They did evaluate things with the UFC, with their manager, with everybody involved and say, okay, no, I believe I can do this. And they made a deal and they signed a contract. So while I do sympathize to a certain degree, you're still letting yourself down, you're still letting your opponent down, and you're letting the sport down, and I'm not trying to kick a man while he's down, but he obviously,
it's part of the deal.
It's part of the deal. You got to do it. There's no excuses, unfortunately. Even though you take it at short notice, you should have said then, okay, I can't make this weight. Let's do a catch weight. Let's do 148.7. Yeah. Let's do 150. You should try and negotiate these type of things.
Yeah.
Peterson as well is a 27-fight veteran. He's 31 years of age. He's been around the sport for a long time. He's been matched with Chase Hooper, who's a 21-year-old kid who's had, 11, 12 fights in his entire career. It's going to be interesting to see what the UFC do here because that is a chunk of weight, and Chase is in a very much a growing part of his career. He's not even a full grown man yet. He still looks like a boy. So be interested to see if that fight stays on, to be honest with you.
We're still waiting for Deiveson Figueiredo. For those that are just joining the stream here on BT Sport, we've got 5 minutes remaining of the allotted time from Arizona. We've got a title fight in the middleweight division. They've come through and weighed in. We've got Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. Brandon Moreno has weighed in for the flyweight title fight, but we're still waiting for the champion, Deiveson Figueiredo, who had a problem, if you remember, in February of last year when he took on Joey Benavidez. He missed weight for that vacant title fight, and that's why we ended up getting a rematch after he won the first fight, and that's when he became champion. But he missed weight in that first one. So we're still waiting for him. Like I said, 4 minutes remaining. A couple of others as well, Terence McKinney and Bilal Muhammad and Brad Riddell. We're still waiting for as well. Interesting.
Yeah. So Bilal weighed in. We missed Bilal. That was when we were frozen. We missed Bilal. He weighed in. He weighed in. He made weight. But we've still got 3 to go, yeah.
I apologise then. For the last blooming couple of hours, I've been giving people a false rhetoric. It's my Wi-Fi that's let everybody down. I apologise. But Bilal Muhammad, I apologise to you as well, my friend. There you go. On the money. And he's been in the buffet for an hour, and I've been waiting for him. Maybe this is what it is.
And look at
Maybe
Nick Peet. Nick Peet, what a professional, eh?
Mike, someone's got to hold this show together, you know?
Yeah, mate, I'm impressed. You know, we got Adam on one side complaining about having to keep his Wi-Fi on and all the rest of it. You're hosting, you're keeping up to speed with who's weighed in and who hasn't. I mean,
well done, mate.
I'm just saying, I think Nick should be the host of this show going forward.
Can I just say something? Michael, you're on the show as well, mate. You can chip up if you want when you think you've seen somebody weigh in. You're allowed to talk about it.
I'm here for dad jokes, okay? That's about it. Stupid stories, a little bit of insight. Come on.
From City Kickboxing is Brad Riddell, who's taking on Drew Dober. A lot of people high on this fight. They genuinely believe that it's going to be an absolute cracker. 2 sensational strikers, top of the prelim, should be a better. Let's hope that Brad Riddell makes weight.
I might eat my words here, but anytime somebody on their first attempt says, "Hey, I need the towel or I need a cover," it's not a good sign. Now he may make it, but you know, with the fact the weigh-ins are about to finish, they're like, "Well, you're gonna have to go weigh in. You're gonna have to go give it your best shot."
155, the official weight for
what?
Brad
He's in championship. He's in championship. There you go. He ain't messed about. What you say, Mike?
That's what I said. That's what I said. I said, listen, he's going to come in and he's going to smoke it. The man's a professional. He never misses weight. He's from one of the best teams in the world. What are you talking about? Brad Riddell, he's the man.
Look how shocked he is. Look how surprised.
I know. He's like, going, quick, get out of here, quick, before they ask me to weigh in again.
Yeah.
All the prelims done. Everybody through on the prelims. Nobody missed weight on the prelims, which is good. We've had 1 missed weight on the early prelims.
Our last fighter to weigh in this morning is the undisputed UFC flyweight champion, Deiveson Figueiredo.
This is big. This could be the whole narrative.
He nearly fell.
He nearly fell. He's not in a good way. And even if he misses weight now, if a medical professional checks on him, they may not give him that extra hour, because walking up there, he didn't look good.
No.
This is absolutely huge. The whole narrative of today's weigh-in on the flyweight champion as he made weight for a championship fight.
125, the official weight.
Wow.
Deiveson Figueiredo.
Did it?
They're giving it him.
Your flyweight
there you go.
title
Deiveson Figueiredo.
Official.
They're giving it him indeed.
Hey, listen.
With 1 minute to go.
That was exciting.
1 minute. As I said, you know, maybe that was the plan the whole time. Now, listen, we got 2 hour window. Let's use it.
There you go. On the money. The flyweight championship fight is on the line. They said that that's the last fighter to weigh in, so I'm assuming that with my stream being as terrible as it has been today, I apologise for people that have been watching. We've been dipping in and out. That Terence McKinney must have weighed in at some point. He must have come through, mate.
We missed him. Oh, yeah, he did. I've just checked. We missed them, so yeah.
There you go. Well, at least you got to tell your story. You got to tell your story. It's sound, mate. That's all good. So only Stephen Peterson is the person to miss weight on the early prelims. Everybody else coming through good. We've got a title fight. Well, we've got 2 title fights. We've got a main event in Israel Adesanya taking on Marvin Vettori. They both came through on the money. You just saw the Deiveson Figueiredo leaving it to the very last minute at championship weight. He did it. He hit 125, and that rematch, hotly anticipated rematch between him and Brandon Moreno is in the books, and we'll see it tomorrow evening on BT Sport. Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. Leon Edwards was the first on the scales. That feels like ages ago. With this Wi-Fi problem that I've had, it feels like that was yesterday. Leon Edwards blooming weighed in, but congratulations to him. He was first on the money. Nate Diaz came through as well, and the rest of the main card all done and dusted. All the British fighters coming through good as well, just in case you just tuned in. All your favourite fighters are going to be featured at UFC 263. Gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure being in your company for this. I'm going to be back in my house for the review show, so I'll plug into the main system there, so therefore I won't be dipping in and out, even though that's going to disappoint you, Mike. I know that you and your new boyfriend here want to do the show by yourselves, but I'm just going to chip in.
Whoa.
All right?
Listen,
Easy.
I go to every length I can. I got the fastest Wi-Fi known to man. I got a cable put in there. I make sure my earbuds are charged. You know, I make sure I do my preparation. Listen, if you're rested on your laurels and you're not taking this job serious anymore, hey, listen, more power to you. You're Mr. Cool. You've got opportunities that you're exploring, you know, whatever. If you're moving on to greener pastures, me and Nick, we can hold down the fort. We respect this show. We do our homework. We do everything we can, okay? I wish I could say the same for you, Adam.
I can't wait to get to Vegas for 264.
It's going to be great. I can't wait.
Carnage. Listen, thank you very much for joining us for the live weigh-in stream. That was intermittent on my part, but hopefully you managed to get what you needed out of the show. We are going to be back on Sunday for our review show of UFC 263, the main event. Or should I say, the whole card goes on BT Sport from 1 a.m. in the morning, starting with the prelims. And then 3 a.m. it is, of course, that fantastic main card, kicking off with Paul Craig against Jamal Hill and concluding with the middleweight championship world with Israel Adesanya taking on Marvin Vettori. The other title fight is the flyweights of Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno. They made weight. And then the people's main event, the first time that we've got a non-title fight, non-main event, 5-rounder, the Coco main event that is Leon Edwards and Nate Diaz. Should be an absolute cracker. I'm going to go and phone my internet provider to make sure that we're ready to rock and roll for Sunday. Enjoy the rest of your day, gentlemen, and thank you very much for watching.
Leon Edwards is incredible. England's best hope for a UFC champion. Nate Diaz!
I'm back. I'm here to fight.
This is a crazy fight. Israel Adesanya, king of the middleweights.
Young motherfucker, we the best. Marvin Vettori.
It's my destiny to be the first Italian UFC champion.
The rematch you have all been waiting for.
Figueiredo, he's a very dangerous man. But Brandon Moreno, he's here to get the belt.
We got a fight.